Tower of God. A trial tournament for advanced players, live stream. The boss has only half its HP left. What an awesome skill combo. The guy told everyone to be quiet. You can't distract Su-bai while he's fighting the boss. Su-bai, as befits a professional gamer, had excellent control of the keyboard and mouse. The fan said his health had dropped to 10%. The protagonist fought the boss effectively, continuously striking him with his sword. The boss laughed and asked, "Does the intruder really think he can defeat me?" The hero declared that if the gods stood in his way, he would destroy them. Today, he would definitely destroy the villain. The hero activated his unique skill and delivered a devastating sword strike. The game was so captivating that everyone watched the battle with bated breath. As a result of his aggressive play, the player Su-bai successfully cleared the 999th floor of the Tower of God. The spectators cheered. Had someone finally cleared this floor of the Tower of God? Who had managed to defeat the final boss? Su-bai was truly too cool. Su-bai believed he had become #1 in the Tower of God. Only he had managed to clear so many floors. Suddenly, the player was attacked, began bleeding profusely, and lost his balance. Su-bai began to shake, his face turning pale. The fans were frightened. What had happened to this guy? Someone shouted that they needed to call the doctors immediately. Su-bai wasn't feeling well. The player stopped showing signs of life. His head slumped onto his chest. The spectators screamed that Su-bai had suddenly died. Could the #1 in this tower really have fallen? Su-bai's consciousness was sinking into an abyss. A voice asked, "Did the intruder really think he could defeat him?" Su-bai was surprised. Who was speaking? The young man wondered. Had he really died? In the conference hall, those present listened to the lecturer's speech. The woman said that since the Tower of God had descended to Earth 10 years ago, it had completely transformed the structure of the Blue Abyss, leading humanity from the age of technology to the age of superpowers. The woman added that since then, people had found themselves in a world filled with vicious monsters, demons, and a multitude of coexisting races. This situation was dangerous, but at the same time, it opened up endless resources and opportunities. Each protected floor of the Tower of God possesses limitless resources. To date, humanity has cleared 99 floors. Thanks to the resources obtained from the Tower of God, human civilization is developing at a breakneck pace. Although 10 years have passed since the beginning of the technological era, quality of life and technology have improved significantly. The woman asked the students if they were ready to enter the Tower of God. Some students shouted that they really wanted to. Su-bai, who was in the auditorium, wondered, where was he? One of the students said that he would obtain an SSS-level translation crystal and become a combat class user. Su-bai thought, could it be that he didn't die? Another student said he was very excited. Finally, they would set foot in the realm of the Tower of God. This country is called Yang Nation. The requirements for entering the Tower of God are very strict. You must be at least 18 years old, and participants must undergo special training at the school. These students had gone through 10 years of diligent training to get into the school. The boy asked, "Isn't this the game called Tower of God that I used to play? Combat and life classes, as well as work transfer crystals? Could it be that I've been transported to a parallel world where the Tower of God exists? And in this world, only 99 floors have been cleared?" Su-bai said that if he was the one who had cleared the 999th floor, then he would amaze everyone here. That would be the highlight of his life. The master told everyone to be quiet. Silence was required. The disciples must prepare themselves and receive their teleportation crystals. They must shatter the crystal to complete the teleportation. The teacher wished them good luck and safe travels. The students began to shatter the crystals and teleport. Su-bai said he was already on his way. The Tower of God must be waiting for him. This time he would definitely reach the very top and clear every floor. The system welcomed the young man to the Tower of God. Personal information is protected. Data processing is in progress. The system reported that the player was already registered. The young man thought, could he really log into the tower using his previous account? Wouldn't that make him invincible? The system reported a mismatch with the account information. Login error. Data is being erased. The young man was furious. Could the data from his previous account really be erased just like that? The system reported that the data wipe was successful. The account had been reset. The young man was welcomed to the Tower of God. Subai said this place looked familiar to him. It was the newcomer's city. Here, new arrivals stocked up on gear and supplies before entering the tower. Subai received a message stating that he had been awarded a reward for clearing the 999th floor of the Tower of God. The greatest artifact, the clock of all things. Subai wondered what kind of clock this was and why it was called the greatest artifact. In the Tower of God, all items and equipment are ranked by quality. The clock of all things is the greatest artifact. This clock can fully upgrade any item, albeit for a small fee. Subai thought the description was vague, but he was a newbie. What could he even upgrade? The guy decided to take a walk around town to start with. He caught the familiar scent of beer and spotted a tavern for beginners. Would the lady from the tavern remember him? As always, the tavern was full of patrons. The landlady noted that with a 10% stat boost, members of the Yang Nation would have a huge advantage over other countries. More and more newbies are successfully switching from one job to another. Subai thought that since the Tower of God was now real, it couldn't be treated like a game. You couldn't die here because the same thing would happen in reality. The clock of all things detected equipment that could be upgraded, a short sword and armor. Subai realized that even white-level junk could be upgraded here. The guy realized he could upgrade his gear to the legendary level. However, he didn't have enough coins. The young man got upset. He'd completely forgotten that, right here and now, he was a pauper. In that case, he needed to focus on earning coins. In the world of the Tower of God, money is everything. The Tower of God was located on the riverbank. At the foot of the tower was a small village. The tower itself stood on the outskirts of the city. The duration of protection for newbies is 7 days. In the Tower of God, protection for newbies lasts exactly that long. If anyone fails to change their class by that time, they will be expelled from the tower. Thus, the main goal for newbies in the tower is to level up and obtain a class change crystal. Countless newbies are eliminated every year due to failing to acquire a class change crystal. Subai sat down at the bar and addressed the tavern manager. The young man said he had a few cocktail recipes. Was she interested in this information? Subai added, "One of the recipes is called Rare Blood Wine of the Beast." The tavern manager told the young man not to joke like that. The girl handed him a piece of paper and a pen and said that if he was lying to her, she'd smash his head in. Subai noted that his recipes were 100% reliable. Subai wrote down the recipe and said he wanted 5 gold coins for the recipe. No tricks or gimmicks. The manager said she would prepare the cocktail right away. However, if he was lying, this guy was in for trouble. This was a basic recipe. The protagonist knew even rarer, high-class recipes. 5 minutes later, the cocktail was ready. The tavern manager was surprised. Could this really be the beast blood wine? The color resembled a red crystal. It was simply incredible. One of the guests wanted to buy the drink for himself. Another player also wanted to buy it, offering a higher price. The tavern manager shouted for everyone to be quiet immediately. She was keeping this cocktail for herself. No one would dare take it. The girl took a sip, then drained the whole glass. Subai asked the manager what the cocktail tasted like. The girl wiped her lips and asked how many recipes the guy had. She wanted to buy them all. Subai smiled. He said he had 5 recipes. Since they knew each other, he was willing to give her a discount and wanted 20 gold coins for all the recipes. The girl noticed that this guy was quite something. She was even starting to feel a bit of a crush on him. Subai received payment for the recipes and thought that was wonderful. These coins would be enough to upgrade his items again. The tavern manager said she couldn't just accept something without payment. The girl handed him a dagger and said it was a bonus. Subai thought the dagger was pretty good and thanked her for the gift. The guy said it was time for him to leave. He had other things to do. He promised to drop by from time to time. The manager noted that if any other rare cocktail recipes came up, she'd be happy to taste them and buy them. Subai told her she could count on him. It was all for the sake of their old friendship. The manager noted that this guy was quite the smooth talker. She liked that sort of thing. The protagonist left the tavern and thought that he couldn't waste any time. First, he needed to upgrade his weapons. Upgrading requires a lot of silver. However, the stat boost is undoubtedly worth it. He needed to change his class during the protection period. The expense would be justified. The required amount of coins was spent. The dagger upgrade was successful. Subai was satisfied. With these stats, clearing the first floor of the Tower of God would be a breeze. Filled with determination, the protagonist headed for the Tower of God. At the foot of the tower was a newbie zone. At that moment, many were chasing rabbits to get at least something for themselves. Whoever struck first would claim the rabbit. That's why even here tempers were flaring. Subai wondered, why were so many players chasing after a single wild rabbit? It was such a cutie. How could anyone even want to kill it? Our hero understood that wild rabbits yielded little experience. You'd barely get a copper coin. One of the players shouted for Subai not to go there, since it was an unprotected zone. It could be dangerous. The protagonist turned around and asked, "What kind of danger is that?" At that moment, a level 1 flying snake appeared behind the young man. The player shouted for Subai to take cover immediately. He needed to get back quickly to avoid danger. Subai replied that he wasn't afraid of a tiny flying snake. The boy pulled out a dagger and immediately sliced the snake into many small pieces. The players were surprised. What just happened? In just a moment, Subai had destroyed the flying snake. A player approached the protagonist and asked how he'd done it. After all, it was just a level 1 flying snake. Subai replied that it wasn't difficult. It took him only a moment. The guy reminded him to be careful. He shouldn't go that way, because if a flying snake bit him, he could die instantly, especially given their terrible gear and low stats. If he died, there would be no coming back. Subai thanked him for the warning and tossed a copper coin to his companion. The protagonist told the guy he'd be better off worrying about himself. The player realized that Subai was simply crazy. He had helped him and received a cold reception in return. With that kind of behavior, this rebellious Subai could die within 5 minutes. Our hero looked around. As he had expected, there were fewer players outside the safe zone. Out of the corner of his eye, the young man saw danger approaching. With a deft movement, Subai pierced the head of the snake that had appeared. The snake was destroyed. As a reward, the boy received a coin. The young man thought that this really did resemble the very Tower of God. However, leveling up at this pace would be very exhausting. Subai decided he needed to destroy a few monsters and finish clearing the first level as soon as possible. More flying snakes appeared. The protagonist didn't mind, because the more there were, the more fun it would be. Subai said that destroying monsters this way was much faster. However, the coin drop rate was still too slow. Subai received a message stating that the 10th season of the Tower of God had officially begun. The guy decided he needed to level up as soon as possible. Since our hero had the clock of all things, he couldn't let anyone else be the first to defeat monsters and claim the rewards. All the players were wondering who would be the first to defeat a monster. One player said that in the eastern region, the first kill would definitely go to one of the 3 great families, since they were lucky enough to be wealthy. Another player said he had seen the eldest daughter of the Lin family wearing a legendary outfit. They definitely have a lot of money, since such an outfit surely costs tens of thousands. A full set of gear would cost tens of millions. On top of that, they have high-ranking player bodyguards in their service. The player in glasses noted that this didn't concern them. They needed to continue hunting rabbits. Meanwhile, Subai continued to destroy flying snakes, earning coins. The system announced that the player had reached level 2. As a reward, he received a black iron chest and 2 points for a free stat boost. Subai thought that it had finally happened. Not only did he receive points to boost his stats, but he also got a black iron chest as a reward. The protagonist thought that was really cool. The young man noticed that a ranking system had appeared. He hadn't expected so many people to have already reached level 2. Some had even nearly reached level 3. Subai decided that he had fallen behind because he had been studying the clock of all things right before entering the game. The protagonist decided to check what he had received from the black iron chest. The young man received basic level armor and 30 copper coins. Subai thought that now he had armor too. What was the best thing to upgrade? He needed to choose the equipment worth upgrading. Subai figured that the boss in the beginner zone didn't have a high-level attack, so it was best to upgrade his weapon. The upgrade was complete. The player received the elegant dagger. Subai decided to upgrade it to the maximum. This cost him 9 silver coins. The protagonist confirmed the upgrade, and the process was successfully completed. The elegant dagger was upgraded to the maximum. The elegant dagger was upgraded to excellent green quality. Now it increased attack speed by 10%. Subai thought that only the first upgrade increased the base stats, while subsequent upgrades only improved attack power. The protagonist twirled the dagger in the air and decided it turned out pretty well. With the base stats, the attack power reaches 100 points. Even considering that the dagger is only of the wonderful tier, its stats are comparable to those of a typical rare weapon. This mysterious watch is truly a legendary item. The young man decided that with this tool, it was time for him to enter the first floor of the Tower of God. Now the boss of the beginner zone can prepare for his demise. The boss of the beginner zone respawns only 10 times on the first day. Whoever defeats him will earn the right to enter the first floor of the Tower of God. Given the team's total attack power, only a limited number of participants can enter the tower on the first day. The participant who lands the first kill will most likely be among them. Subi looked around and surmised that he had reached the very spot. However, the young man heard the sounds of battle and grew frightened. Could someone have managed to get past him? He quickly ran toward the sounds. He wanted to be the first to defeat the monster. A group of players had attacked the armed monsters. They had to hurry because the number of goblins was constantly growing. Subai, peeking out from behind a rock, wondered, what kind of wealth is this? Could they have bought all of this? All their gear was, at the very least, of a remarkable level. Subai appraised the rare-grade full set of armor worn by Yu Chan of the Ling family. The young man thought that his graceful dagger had suddenly become useless. Yu Chan ordered the second group to regroup. The third group was to move forward. The support group was to distribute the potions. The commander of the third group ordered the squad to attack the goblins. A companion told the girl that at this rate, they would soon reach the first floor of the tower. Yu Chan noted that they shouldn't underestimate the Li and Bo families. There were many paths, and these families might not be behind them at all. Yu Chan heard a suspicious sound and asked who was hiding there. Subai stepped out from behind a rock and greeted them. Lin Yu Chan's comrade asked which team this level 2 player belonged to. The protagonist replied that he was participating on his own and wasn't part of any team. He was just passing through so they could ignore him. Yu Chen thought that her team's gear was top-notch, and yet it had taken them a full half hour to make their way through the forest. Was this guy really claiming to be acting alone? But that was impossible. Subai wished everyone good luck and decided to move on. Yu Chan's comrade said things were looking bad. This guy had decided to use them to lure low-level monsters while he planned to steal the boss. Yu Chen ordered the third squad to stop using potions and to team up with the fourth squad for the attack. They had to stop him by any means necessary. The girl decided she wouldn't let anyone steal the first boss kill right under her nose. The protagonist realized that now he would have to deal with 2 squads of armed men. Subai asked, what does he have to do with this? After all, they're fighting their own monsters. The deputy squad leader, Lin, noted that this stranger was only a level 2, a novice. How dare he even stand up to them? The deputy commander ordered the squad to get rid of this man. They couldn't let Miss Yu Chan miss her chance for a first kill. Subai thought that in that case, he was ready to play along with them. Arrows flew toward the protagonist. The young man braced himself to parry the attack. The first arrow was deflected with his upgraded dagger. Yu Chan, crossbow in hand, was surprised. Could this guy really have blocked her attack? The warriors rushed to a dangerous distance, swung their blades, and prepared to attack. Subai was confident, but were these guys sure they could defeat him? The protagonist lunged forward and, with a swift movement, delivered a slashing blow to his opponents. The warriors didn't even have time to realize they'd been wounded and were already bleeding out. The deputy commander shouted that this couldn't be happening. How could a second-level novice completely crush their warriors in the blink of an eye? The squad commander ordered everyone to retreat. Subai acknowledged that these guys were stronger than ordinary novices. However, if they wanted to destroy him, they still had a long way to go. Subai continued to fight his opponents, landing critical hits and depleting their health. The commander's assistant ordered a retreat. They couldn't afford to lose their warriors so pointlessly, and yet their opponent was armed with nothing more than a dagger. The commander's aide said in fear that this guy shouldn't be so arrogant. Did he know who he dared to anger? Subai replied that he didn't care in the least who they were. However, if they stood in his way, they wouldn't be leaving here so easily. The commander's assistant was furious. Lin Yu Chan told Zhang Fei to shut up immediately. Yu Chen held out her hand and proposed a deal. The protagonist took an interest in the offer and asked for details. Lin Yu Chen thought that this man had come here alone. Judging by his fighting style, he was definitely no ordinary person. Yu Chen said that until the guy fought, he wouldn't understand. She wanted to hear his price. Zhang Fei was puzzled, since this was just a solo player. Why was the lady acting this way? Yu Chan told the assistant to be quiet again. If they delayed the conquest of the God's Tower, would Zhang Fei take responsibility? Subai replied that he had made up his mind. He would guarantee there would be no further attacks. In return, these people would have to pay a protection tax based on the number of players, 1 silver coin per person. The guy added that he considered this a fair price. Zhang Fei was indignant again. Was this guy living in a fantasy world? Subai declared that this was the price for their lives. Didn't they agree? Lin Yuchan said she agreed and tossed the young man 3 gold coins. The rest was a token of friendship. The girl asked the young man to add her as a friend. Subai immediately replied that it would cost 1 gold coin. Yuchan agreed and tossed the young man another gold coin. Zhang Fei continued to protest, but quietly now. Zhang Fei told his opponent that he was exploiting them. Yuchan suggested they team up to hunt the boss of the newbie zone. Subai assumed that the first boss in this zone was extremely important to this girl and agreed. However, he had one condition. Subai declared that he would be the leader of this group. Zhang Fei said again that this guy was still living in a fantasy world. After all, they were all elite members trained by the Ling family. Did this guy really think he was worthy of leading them? Subai added that if they wanted to defeat the boss, they had to follow his instructions. If anyone disagreed, they would have nothing in common to discuss. He couldn't allow anyone to slow them down. Zhang Fei told his commander that this guy was a stranger about whom they knew absolutely nothing. He couldn't be trusted. Lin Yuchan noted that she agreed to move together, but as for leadership, that was out of the question. Subai turned around and replied that in that case, they should forget the whole thing. Maybe they'd meet again in the future. Lin Yuchan asked if Subai was sure he didn't want to reconsider the terms. She could give him 100 gold pieces. The protagonist remarked that the reward for the first destruction was worth more than 100 gold pieces, so there was no point in wasting his time. Zhang Fei remarked that this guy thinks he's better than them. His goal is to break the world record for the first kill. Lin Yuchan thought he was just a solo player. Even she couldn't guarantee success, let alone this guy. Subai, left alone, thought that now that he was rich, it was time to upgrade his gear. The young man decided to upgrade his basic armor. All that remained was to choose the upgrade method. The protagonist chose the fast method, which meant he had to spend more coins. The guy was satisfied. His HP exceeded 300. Now he was ready to fight the boss and brimming with confidence. As always, the tavern was full of regulars. They noted that this year's newbies were particularly active. Most likely, the first boss kill in the newbie zone would happen soon. The tavern manager asked whether the Yan Nation would succeed in the first clear of the God's Tower's beginner zone this year. One of the patrons noted that last year, their guild held the record for the first clear all the way up to the 9th floor. However, on the top floor, they were overtaken by a powerful newcomer from the Bacon Nation. He had an SSS rank profession. If there's even one SS rank talent this year, they'll be in luck. Subai, running past low-level monsters, decided he needed to hurry. This time, he was the one who had to make the first clear. Subai heard a loud noise ahead and was startled. Could someone have overtaken him? Subai sensed a strange scent. It was the scent of energy concealment powder. Energy concealment powder hides the user's scent only from ordinary monsters. It doesn't work if the monster's level far exceeds the user's. Subai realized this was a low-level version of energy concealment powder. Lately, there had been a lot of rich people around, since this powder cost millions. On their way to the boss, a group of players was fighting the monsters blocking their path. Subai joined the fight. Fortunately for our hero, these players hadn't reached the boss yet. Otherwise, he would have had to wait a whole hour for him to respawn. One of the players asked Brother Wang if they should stop the newly arrived player. Wang replied that it wasn't worth it. He was just a lone player. This was Wang Zixi, the legitimate son of the Wang family, one of the 3 great families of the eastern region. Li Weijun, the legitimate daughter of the Li family, one of the 3 great families of the eastern region, said that this guy was a fool who didn't know his place. How dare he hunt for something that didn't belong to him? The players were surprised. Was this guy really going to attack the boss? Subai, leaving the fighters behind, approached the boss and threw a dagger at him. The boss was struck in the chest by the dagger, growled menacingly, and rose from his seat. It was the Goblin King. Subai said that the boss could attack. A player asked Wang Zixi what they should do. Should they follow this guy and steal the boss? Zixi replied that this guy wasn't a threat since he was solo. The boss would crush him in a second. Li Yuezhan added that he was just trash who didn't value his own life. The boss swung his club, but Subai managed to dodge to the side. The protagonist noted that he had come back specifically to deal with this monster. The Goblin King roared loudly as he hadn't expected his opponent to dodge his blow. Subai told the Goblin King to prepare for his demise. His screams wouldn't change a thing. Our hero landed a critical hit that reduced the boss's HP, after which the young man dodged and leaped aside. The Goblin King began to bleed out. Subai ran back to a safe distance. The boss attacked again. Subai dodged to the side once more. Our hero remarked that this monster moves too slowly and predictably. The player landed another critical hit. The protagonist knew the Goblin King's weak spots: the chest, lower back, and eyes. Li Yujian was surprised. Could this guy really have dodged several of the boss's attacks? Wang Zixi remarked that it was simply impossible. Yujian asked Zixi what was wrong here. Where did this newbie get such kiting skills? On top of that, all his hits were critical. Li Yujin thought that kiting was a technique even pros struggled to master. Yujin asked Zixi what they should do. Maybe they should take him out right now? Wang Zixi replied that they shouldn't rush. No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't take down the boss in a second. They needed to wait a little. They would be like mantises stealing a cicada until a sparrow swooped in from behind. When this guy fell, they would strike. Subai landed another critical hit on the boss. The guy said that finishing him off would be as easy as chopping vegetables. The monster continued to growl and act extremely aggressively. The protagonist remained completely calm. Subai said that the boss's screams wouldn't save him. Another critical hit was landed. The monster raised its arms and roared even louder. Subai was surprised. Had the boss decided to call for backup? The group of players suddenly found themselves surrounded. Goblins were approaching from all sides. Wang Zixi wondered how this had even happened. A player stated that they had almost cleared the entire area, and suddenly this happened. Zixi was baffled by what was going on here. Li Yujian explained everything. It was the boss who had summoned a squad of goblin guards. Wang Zixi ordered his squad to switch to an offensive strategy and break out of the encirclement. The players decided to maintain formation and follow Commander Wang Zixi's orders to the letter. Li Yuijin, bow in hand, said that these endless waves of goblin guards were the work of that scoundrel. Wang Zixi ordered everyone to focus and clear a path for him at all costs. The commander's assistant told Wang Zixi to hang in there. They would get him to the boss no matter what. The assistant told the leader that they would succeed. They just needed to hold on a little longer. Wang Zixi saw the boss's HP rapidly decreasing, but he believed he still had time. Subai looked at his rival and thought that this guy had planned to intervene at the last moment. He's very naive. Subai saw a mid-tier scroll in Wang Zixi's hands and thought he was very rich. However, he wouldn't be able to steal the kill from him anyway. Zixi threw the scroll forward and told the guy to disappear right there along with everyone else. The mid-rank magic spell Fire Explosion technique was activated. A powerful explosion occurred. Everything at the epicenter of the explosion vanished in a cloud of smoke. The players decided that their leader had succeeded. Li Yujian remarked that Zixi had been simply magnificent. Wang Zixi thought something was off. Why wasn't there a system notification? The notification appeared. The Goblin King in the eastern newbie village had been defeated by the player Subai. We can continue in the same vein. Li Yujian said that couldn't be true. When the smoke cleared, Wang Zixi noticed that this newbie was standing on the body of the defeated Goblin King. Zixi couldn't help but ask how this guy had taken down the boss all by himself. Subai replied that they were a bunch of real fools. Didn't they know that critical hit stack? He'd been hitting weak spots, building up damage, and finished off the last 5% with a single blow. Our hero could have actually finished off the boss when it was still at 20%. However, he waited until Wang Zixi used up his scroll and only then delivered the final blow. Subai admitted that Zixi had thrown thousands of gold coins down the drain. It hurts just to think about it. Our hero simply wanted to teach these arrogant nobles a lesson. They were wrong to think that money gave them the right to trample on others. Now this party can wait for the boss to respawn. A system notification also appeared in the tavern. The Goblin King in the eastern newbie village had been defeated by the player Subai. The players were surprised. Could there really be a Su family in the east? A tavern patron was surprised. For the first time, the first kill hadn't gone to any of the top 3 families. Since this guy had claimed the first kill, he was definitely no ordinary player. Could he be a hidden heir of a powerful clan? The girl checked the information and was surprised. Could it really be Subai? But how could he have bypassed the top families? The young man suggested that it was just a namesake. Li Yuchan and Zhang Fei also said that was impossible. Yu-chan ordered her soldiers to move immediately to the assembly point. Li Yuzhan asked Wang Zizi what they should do now. Zizi replied that they should rest, regroup, and storm the next boss again in an hour. Lin Yu-chan emerged from the portal with her men and asked, "Is Zizi really going to take down the second boss without her permission?" The first player in the Eastern Zone to defeat the Goblin King earns the right to the Tower of God trial and 11 silver chests. The system announced that Subai had entered the top 100 players on the entire server. As a result, he receives another silver chest. The protagonist decided that before entering the tower, he would first open the chest in search of something rare. Subai obtained a pair of rare one-step boots and 10 silver coins from the silver chest. He also received 10 small experience potions and 38 silver coins. In one of the chests, the protagonist found rare quality boots and a few potions. Subai examined the boots and concluded that they were pretty good. They increased speed, even though the level was still low. They also featured Gore-Tex technology. After the first boss defeat, the rankings for this season's Tower of God trial were published. Subai checked the rankings and realized he was in 98th place. Less than 2 hours had passed since he left the newbie village and defeated the Goblin King. The top 2 players from other zones had finished over an hour ago. Subai used a small experience potion. The young man decided he needed to speed things up and grind levels. The protagonist wondered, what kind of dungeon was on the first floor of the Tower of God this season? Subai walked through the portal and found himself on the first floor of the Tower of God. Our hero realized that the Darkness dungeon was about to begin. The starting dungeons in the Tower of God are varied and full of loot, and their difficulty constantly increases. Darkness is considered a floor of medium difficulty, but it's still challenging for beginners. Subai remembered the path from last time. Forward, right, forward. Subai was pleased with himself, for he hadn't forgotten this maze. Suddenly, a monster appeared out of nowhere. It materialized at the location of the seal. From the structure of its skull and its teeth, Subai immediately determined that it was a ghoul. This monster was a level 3 and was difficult to defeat. The protagonist thought that ghouls were known for their agility and powerful attacks, so he needed to be careful and make sure he didn't get surrounded. Our hero dodged and landed a critical hit. It was a one-hit kill. Subai decided that as long as this ghoul was alone, dealing with it would be easy. The next moment, another monster appeared behind the young man. Subai didn't even think of letting his guard down. The critical strike was activated again, and the monster was destroyed in a single attack. The system announced that the player had reached level 3 and received 2 attribute points. Subai thought he had reached level 3 quickly. The protagonist saw a place in front of him with different stones. There were 2 multicolored stones leading to rooms of varying difficulty. The red one indicated a difficult route. Subai chose the red stone, because the more difficult the mission, the better the reward would be. In the kingdom of Yan, the head of the Chu dynasty guild was informed that Mr. Junxia's affairs were progressing well. Mr. Chu remarked that early progress meant nothing. Only the one who claimed the grand prize could be considered the winner. This was Zhu Wan, the founder of the Chu dynasty guild. The assistant smiled and remarked that a tiger cannot give birth to a dog. Moreover, the president had prepared everything properly, and surely the title of king would go to Mr. Junxi this year. Zhu Wan said that a true king is one who has gone through fire and water, not one who takes the title by someone else's will. Zhu Wan expressed hope that he would not be disappointed after all. Subai continued moving toward his intended goal, methodically destroying the monsters that crossed his path. The protagonist thought that less than half an hour had passed, yet the tower's gifts were still magnificent. Subai looked back and realized he had finally dealt with the monsters in this room. Before our hero could even react, several glowing squares appeared before him. The young man realized if a gray square appeared, it meant he had found a secret room. It was a pleasant surprise, though he hadn't expected a high-level room to appear. A huge number of ghouls appeared in this room, which also came as a surprise. Subai said that these monsters hadn't managed to catch him off guard. The young man used his unique skill and attacked the monsters himself. After half an hour, all the monsters were destroyed. The system announced that the player had reached level 4 and received 2 attribute points. Subai noted that he had finally leveled up. The system reported that the player had cleared the secret room perfectly. 1 gold coin was credited as a reward. The young man checked and confirmed that his stats were now balanced and he was ready to face the real boss. Subai checked and confirmed that Zhu Junxi was still the leader. Our hero assumed that no one had defeated the boss yet. The young man headed in the right direction and decided he would update the leaderboard by defeating the boss. Subai entered a huge room and looked around. The protagonist found himself in the boss room on the first floor of the Tower of God. The boss monster stood in its place, waiting for whoever would come to fight it. The boss glared menacingly at the player. His horns emitted an electromagnetic glow. Subai greeted him and said they had met again. The boss's minions immediately pounced on the uninvited guest. Subai suggested getting straight to the point and added that he didn't have much time anyway. The low-level monsters were instantly destroyed. They didn't stand a chance. Having cleared the path, the protagonist rushed toward the boss. He said he was ready to play with this monster. This time, the elite boss was a minotaur, a level 5 monster. Subai noticed that this boss was just as tough and unapproachable. The minotaur rose from his spot, activated his weapon, and roared loudly. The winged monsters also prepared to attack the player. Subai realized that things were about to get interesting. The minotaur swung his axe, and Subai decided to use a charged strike. The monster missed, and his axe plunged into the floor. The player lunged forward and closed in on the monster's body. Our hero landed a critical hit, plunging his dagger into the monster's neck. The boss screamed loudly in pain. Subai said that the monsters shouldn't get their hopes up. Numerical superiority didn't matter. Subai, using his unique abilities, landed numerous dagger strikes on the boss and the winged monsters. The monster's body burst into flames and it lunged at its opponent. The young man thought that this boss had begun to use its skill. Subai wasn't scared. He said that this brainless minotaur was just as impulsive as ever, completely predictable. Our hero approached the monster's head, greeted it, and asked, "Doesn't the boss recognize me?" The young man landed a devastating blow and said he would now help the monster remember. The minotaur roared loudly once more. Subai stabbed the winged monsters with his dagger and said that using them to gain experience was always beneficial. The player was awarded bonus experience. The system announced that the player had reached level 5. 2 attribute points were received. Subai activated the one-step boots he had purchased earlier. The minotaur was enraged but couldn't even notice his opponent's movements. The boss flew into an indescribable rage, and Subai realized that this monster had activated Berserker mode. Subai declared that in that case he was moving on to the main game. The minotaur completely lost sight of his opponent. At some point, the young man appeared behind the monster and asked if he was looking for him. The allotted time had expired and the berserk effect had ended. Subai leaped upward and told the minotaur that he was right there. The protagonist struck with all his might and dealt a piercing wound to the monster with his dagger. The beast roared loudly again. Subai noted that this boss, as always, had foolishly wasted the berserk mode. Now he was indistinguishable even from a cow. The protagonist said the game was over. He had no time for this loser. Subai landed another critical hit. The HP level dropped significantly. The system announced that the player had defeated the Minotaur boss. The first floor of the Tower of God had been cleared, granting access to the second floor of the Tower of God. Subai thought that the whole thing hadn't taken that long. Of course, it used to be faster, but now resources and experience were more important. A powerful explosion rang out. The player said he hadn't expected anything less from his father's perfect weapon. Its power was simply incredible. In the player's hands was the 10,000 Calamities Destruction Cannon. The player decided it was time to start the bombardment. However, the system announced that Subai had achieved the first destruction and officially cleared the first floor of the Tower of God. Victory was awarded to the Kingdom of Yan. The young man said that was impossible. How could he have cleared the first floor in less than an hour? He must have been cheating. The other players also couldn't understand how it was possible to finish in such a short time. Were newbies really that strong these days? Where could such a terrifying newbie have come from in the Kingdom of Yan? Everyone was abuzz with this news. Juwen also couldn't believe that someone had cleared the first floor so quickly. Who was this person? The assistant said that the young master Jun Shi had also done very well. He had almost broken the speed record. Juwan shouted that it didn't matter, because he had lost anyway. The assistant pointed out that there were still 9 floors left in the Tower of God. If young master Jun Ji finished the translation first, he would have a chance to catch up and claim the title of Rookie of the Year. Ju Wan ordered an investigation into who this person was who had broken the record. Lan Yuchan also received the new information and realized she had underestimated that guy. Subai knew that, as usual, golden chests only appear upon the first boss kill or during an event. Since this is the first golden chest of the season, it must contain a piece of perfect gear. Otherwise, it wouldn't live up to its status. Subai received a perfect weapon, the Golden Hoe. Our hero was delighted, as he knew this item would be very useful to him in the game. The young man also received a beginner's experience orb. It would level him up. The system reported that the player had used the beginner's experience orb. Our hero leveled up and thought it was time to upgrade his equipment. The guy spent more coins so the upgrade would happen instantly. The protagonist was satisfied, as many of his stats had improved at once. Subai felt a wonderful sensation. The young man held the entrance ticket in his hands. The time had almost come. Subai headed to the second floor of the Tower of God. Subai set a small goal for himself, to clear the first 10 floors in 24 hours. The Naka Desert, this was where the protagonist emerged from the portal. His progress in the trial was at 0. Subai looked around and realized that the second floor was the Naka Desert. Here he had to defeat 10 waves of monsters. The young man decided to make the monsters spawn faster. A monster appeared before our hero, a third-level sawtooth lizard. Several more of the same monsters appeared after it. Subai thought these creatures were too slow and were just wasting time. Subai decided that since the sawtooth lizards were so slow, he would take the initiative into his own hands. The player charged into the attack himself. Our hero acted aggressively and assertively. The monsters took damage one after another. After a short time, the monsters were destroyed by critical hits. Subai was pleased with himself, having finished the fight in less than 2 minutes. Now there were many more sawtooth lizards. Subai decided he needed to speed up even more. The young man activated the step forward skill. His movement speed increased significantly. The protagonist decided to break all the records from his past life. The boss room on the second floor. Subai said he was ready to play with the little wolf cub if it didn't want to die meekly. Subai dealt with the boss very quickly. Its HP rapidly dropped to 0. The system announced that the boss had been defeated. The second floor of the Tower of God has been cleared. An entry ticket to the third floor will be issued. Subai received another chest. Inside was the perfect equipment, combined lilac gold armor. The armor was level 5 and provided a healing effect every 5 seconds. The protagonist thought that, as expected of perfect armor, everything looked very high quality in its glow. In reality, this armor cost a pretty penny. Subai even felt a bit out of place. However, under its glow, everything really did look very high quality. Subai used a beginner's experience orb. His level was raised to 7. He gained 2 attribute points. The protagonist decided that things were going pretty well for him, and now he could head to the third floor. Moving forward, our hero decided that the expenses had been considerable, which meant he needed to earn coins faster. Tower of God, third floor, the Silk Cave. Once inside the cave, the young man was attacked by low-level beasts and insects. Subai laughed and said he had come to them himself, then rushed into the attack. Tower of God, first floor, boss room. The player with a firearm slung over his shoulder attacked the boss and said that no one could handle his 10,000 misfortunes destruction cannon. The system reported that the player had defeated the boss, Minotaur. The first floor of the Tower of God was cleared, and access to the second floor was granted. The clear took 2 hours and 25 minutes. The player said it was very exhausting. It was good that the boss's attack range turned out to be limited. As a reward, the player received a rare weapon, the exclusive longsword. Junyi was pleased, as this was a rare weapon from a silver chest. A system announcement appeared stating that the player, Subai, had successfully set the record for the first clear of the second floor of the Tower of God. This marks yet another victory for the players of the Yan Kingdom. Junxie was surprised. Had this guy really cleared the second floor already? Only 29 minutes had passed, but that was objectively impossible. The player dropped to his knees and thought that he was probably still too weak. Who was Subai? The protagonist dispatched another monster and said it was time to show everyone a speedrun. The system announced that the player, Subai, had successfully set the record for the first clear of the third floor of the Tower of God. Clear time, 25 minutes. Tower of God, fourth floor. Desert of bloody flames. All monsters were destroyed. The system congratulated the player, Subai, on successfully setting the record for the first clear of the fourth floor of the Tower of God. Clear time, 22 minutes. Tower of God, fifth floor, Misty Swamp. The boss monster was effectively defeated by the protagonist. The system congratulated the player. Subai successfully set the record for the first clear of the fifth floor of the Tower of God. Clear time, 19 minutes. Players marveled. Could Subai have set another clearing record? Is he a genius or a monster? Others slowed down as the floor level increased. Some even suggested that Subai wasn't actually that strong. It was just that this season's trials for newcomers were too easy. They said that the son of Guildmaster Chu had even brought along the 10,000 Calamities destruction cannon. However, Subai, though very fast, still didn't use any epic weapons. The young people gathered in the strategy group's meeting room. Pei Lingxi said that he had become interested in this guy. Shi Nantian said he found it interesting too. Besides, this guy had no parents and no past. His background was a blank slate. His combat grades at school weren't very high. Lin Shake wondered if this guy had already found something incredible inside the tower. Nantian pointed out that even for them, the strategic group, the drop rate for epic weapons was very low, only 10 copies for the entire Yan Kingdom. Lin Shui noted that Nantian was getting too worked up, but he was one of the top 5 assassins in the Yan Kingdom. Why would he be interested in a boy's weapon? Nantian declared that many still didn't have a complete set of perfect weapons. The commander slammed his fist on the table and ordered the two of them to calm down immediately. Su Kang, captain of the strategic group, said they would try to buy his epic weapon if he couldn't upgrade the translation crystal to S rank. Su Kang added that if he really did obtain such a weapon, they would invite him to the strategic group's trial. Nantian noted that caution was necessary. Rookies must start in the rookie team. If they perform well, they'll be sent to the third-tier team. The captain asked if Nantian knew what the rookie teams had been like over the past 2 years. If Su Bai could win the title of Rookie King, what was wrong with promoting him? Captain Su Kang stated that he had already made his decision. Linja told Nantian to take better care of himself. If he still couldn't achieve his second transformation within a month, he might end up getting demoted to the second-tier team. Su Bai decided to check his tactical and technical stats. The young man was satisfied. Each level up grants 8 random stats. However, upgrading his weapon constantly drains his energy. The protagonist figured that each upgrade would now cost about 13 gold coins. With the funds he currently had, he couldn't buy much. Clearing the 10th floor would yield 500 gold coins. If he earned the title of Rookie King, another 200 coins would be added. The young man was terrified. Where on earth would he get that much money? The protagonist was depressed. Subi suddenly remembered something. He carefully reread some of the messages he'd received from Lin Yu-chan. The young man decided it was time to get into business. Subai offered the girl crystals at a price below market value. Yu-chan replied that she was ready to take everything he had. The protagonist gave the girl 6 days to raise the funds. The young man thought that the rich really do have power. The deal was closed, and the young man headed to the 6th floor. God's Tower, 6th floor, Wild Oasis. Subai thought that the difficulty of farming in the Wild Oasis increased exponentially. The guy acquired the Flying Dragon crossbow. This item had 2 effects, barrage and a 50% increase in speed. Subai decided he'd stocked up on this ranged weapon just in time. Too bad there weren't enough arrows. Time was also running short. He had to conserve every shot. The protagonist found himself surrounded and thought that these monsters had come to him on their own. Subai took aim with his crossbow and thought that these monsters were the perfect test subjects for the new weapon. The guy fired a few shots. The arrows hit their mark precisely, and the monsters were neutralized. Subai activated rapid-fire mode, and every arrow hit its mark. All the beasts were destroyed. The young man said that was pretty good damage. The protagonist set the crossbow aside and began pulling the arrows out of the monsters' bodies, since he only had enough for a few volleys. The young man thought that, if his memory served him correctly, the boss should be moving north along this river. Our hero heard the sound of water and thought he had found what he was looking for. Subai stepped out into the clearing and saw armed monsters on the lake in front of the waterfall. They were 9th level amphibious monsters. They possessed the skill, harpoon shot. Subai fired several shots at once to farm as much as possible. The amphibians were destroyed with the first shot. Subai obtained a B-rank class change crystal. The protagonist scanned the crystal and asked Yu-chan how much she was willing to pay for it. Lin Yu-chan noticed that this guy worked very efficiently. She said she was willing to pay 10 million in cash. In-game currency, that's a maximum of 100 gold coins. The deal was confirmed. Subai continued hunting with his crossbow in hand. The guy thought today's farming session was going very well. A loud roar came from behind the trees. The sound seemed familiar to the protagonist. Subai said it was the roar of a boss monster. The monster turned out to be the elite boss, Oasis Demonfish, a level 10 creature. Subai noted that this monster looked epic and grotesque, just as a true boss should. The player declared he was ready to take on this monster and readied his crossbow to fire. Before the Oasis Demonfish could swing its trident, the protagonist fired 3 shots at its chest. The young man didn't stop there. He leaped high out of the water and continued to shoot the boss's body with his crossbow. The monster gathered its strength and hurled the trident at its opponent. Subai dodged effectively, and the trident flew past. Our hero said that this boss was just the same as before. No upgrades at all. Now he would be destroyed once and for all. The boss was defeated and fell into the water. The system announced that the Oasis Demonfish had been defeated, and the 6th floor had been cleared. The player would be issued a pass to the 7th floor. The young man thought he'd spent longer than usual dealing with this monster. Still, it was a record for the 6th floor. The player received the title Amphibian Hunter. As a reward, the protagonist received 5 silver chests. The items in the chests weren't of the highest quality, but they were better than nothing. Subai spent 10 silver coins on an upgrade and received a pair of gauntlets of excellent quality. The stats were suitable, so the guy decided to equip the bracers himself. Subai said that the 7th floor was waiting for him and stepped through the portal toward new achievements. Subai decided he would clear the first 10 floors in 20 hours. The title of King of Newcomers would undoubtedly be his. The protagonist received a message that player Lin Mengxuan had obtained the S-Class Berserker. The players in the tavern continued to discuss the leaders. Could they be giving this to the Lin family? They're definitely relatives of the invincible Sword of Li. He's the one who farms at level 10 and ranks among the world's top 10. Lin Mengxuan is the main contender for the title of King of Newcomers. One of the players pointed out that Subai was already on the 7th floor, while Lin Mengxuan hadn't even finished the 3rd yet. The girl said that the invincible Sword Li must have backed up his relative. She definitely has some kind of ace up her sleeve, since Zhu Wan even passed down a high-caliber weapon to his son. Zhu Jungxi was angry again. Who was this guy who had climbed to 1st place? Because of him, Jungxi had been forced to slip down to 3rd. Zhu Jungxi thought that as soon as he reached the 5th floor, he would show everyone who was the strongest here. Tower of the Gods, 7th floor, gloomy castle. The protagonist engaged in battle with yet another monster. Subai landed a crushing blow and called this monster Old Ruins. The young man remembered the boss's weak spots on its back well. Tower of the Gods, 4th floor, the Desert of Red Flame. Lin Mengxuan fights the monsters effectively, gripping her 2-handed sword tightly. The monsters dealt irreparable damage. The girl declared that she would not lose to anyone. Tower of the Gods, 5th floor, Misty Swamp. Zhu Jinshi found a shard of the Stone of Destiny and said he would finally change his class. The system announced that the player had obtained an SS rank class change crystal. The class was successfully changed to Mechanic. Tower of the Gods, 8th floor, Abyss of Suffering. Subai moved forward again, initiating combat with the monsters. Subai continued onward without slowing down. Meanwhile, the monsters were effectively attacked and destroyed. The protagonist thought that he had 2 more floors to go, and then he would be done. Tower of the Gods, 6th floor, Wild Oasis. Lin Mengxuan said they were taking too long on this floor and needed to speed up. Zhu Jungxi continued to use his heavy-caliber weapon, remarking that he was about to catch up to the leaders. Tower of the Gods, 9th floor, City of Nightmares. He engaged in battle with a large number of monsters. The young man said that the 9th floor was simply disgusting and needed to be left as soon as possible. Tower of the Gods, 7th floor, the Gloomy Castle. Lin Mengxuan, attacking the boss, said she would definitely catch up to the leader, Subai. Tower of the Gods, 10th floor, Platform of Nightmares. Subai bravely faced the boss one-on-one. The boss was Hemer's nightmare. The protagonist said he had finally made it this far. Only this boss stood between him and the title of King of Newcomers. Subai decided he had no time to talk with this boss and rushed into the attack. The boss turned out to be aggressive and brutal. Wielding his blade, Subai declared that he was going to destroy the monster right away. The boss said that the Desecrator of Dreams would suffer punishment. The young man smirked because the boss's trick hadn't worked last time either. The boss shouted that it was impossible, for the nightmare was invincible. The system congratulated the player on a new record. The 10th floor of the tower has been cleared. Another victory for the players of the Yang Nation. Subai said that in his past life, He had cleared 999 floors, but never received this title. Finally, this gestalt is complete. The protagonist had accumulated 5 chests and decided to open them all at once in hopes of a good drop. The guy received the rare equipment, White Tiger Sword. Subai decided that this weapon suited him. He received the perfect item, Lost Treasure Map. Subai decided that this suited him as well. He also received a rare piece of equipment, the Energy Shield. The next chest contained the rare item, Stone of Radiance. This stone hides the glow of equipment because there's no need for unnecessary attention. Subai also received the perfect piece of gear, Fire Dragon Gloves. Subai thought the shield was useless to him, but the gloves were simply magnificent. In terms of stats, they were almost epic. The guy slammed his fist into the ground and a shockwave spread out in all directions. Subai declared that the effect looked very cool. He checked his tactical and technical data once more and thought that with stats like these, he could wipe out everything in sight. All that was left was to open the 30 silver chests and put their contents up for sale. The system announced that player Subai was the first in Season 10 to clear the 10th floor of the tower and had earned the title King of Newcomers. As a reward, he was given a random SSS rank class change crystal. In the conference room, those present analyzed Subai's battles by reviewing the video footage. Captain Su Kang said he needed a complete dossier on player Subai. Pei-Ling Shui was to handle this immediately. As soon as this guy left the rookie zone, they had to intercept him. They couldn't let other squads get there first. Lin Shuk told the captain that they needed certain conditions. What could they offer this guy? Su Kang told Lin Yue not to skimp and to offer the maximum, just like in the 11th squad. The girl was surprised. Did the captain really want to invite this guy into the main roster? Su Kang confirmed that he wanted to bring the player into the main squad. He wasn't going to assign him to the second-string team of losers, was he? With an SSS-ranked fighter on the roster, no one would dare dump the dirty work on them. Su Kang concluded that they couldn't let such a genius slip away. The players thought that if they had an SSS-ranked fighter, they would become the second strongest unit after the first squad, which included Invincible Sword Lee. In that case, their status would skyrocket. Pei-Ling Shug said she understood everything and would immediately begin carrying out the order. The girl thought the captain was right. She really wanted to show those upstarts from the 5th and 6th squads who was the strongest. In the tavern for newbies, they continued to watch the events unfold. The players noted that Subai still hadn't changed classes. How had he managed to achieve such results without changing classes? His strength was simply terrifying. The tavern door burst open with a crash. A man with a sack on his shoulder appeared in the doorway. The patrons were outraged. Who dared to burst in so brazenly? Did he really want to die? Subai stood in the doorway with the sack on his back. The young man headed straight for the tavern manager. The patrons decided this guy had lost his mind. The landlady would surely destroy him right then and there. She had a history of eliminating anyone who tried to hit on her like that, on the spot, without mercy. The girl said this guy turned out to be pretty quick on his feet. The quick-witted guy ordered a cocktail called Meteor Shower. The girl declared that it was her signature recipe. The patrons were surprised. Who is this guy? Why isn't the owner even angry? He nearly broke the door and she put up with it all. The tavern manager looked at the size of the bag and said the guy had a decent catch. The young man noted that this wasn't surprising. She was of the beast folk race after all. She'd even sensed that. The girl noted that flattery wouldn't help him get a lower price. She wanted 1 gold coin per glass and warned that she didn't serve on credit. The player downed the Starfall cocktail in 1 gulp. The girl noted that the guy had just swallowed the drink since he hadn't even tasted it. Subai stretched and told Sister Dana not to worry. He wanted a room on the 2nd floor because he was very tired and needed some rest. Another person entered the tavern. The patrons noticed that it was Lin Yu-chan. Accompanied by her attendants, the girl stopped in the middle of the hall and thought, it was a good thing she'd stopped in time back then and hadn't argued with that guy. Otherwise, it could have ended badly. Subai said that since Yu-chan had already arrived, she could go ahead and inspect the goods. Lin Yu-chan looked at the size of the sack and was surprised. Could there really be so much in it? The young people moved to the VIP room on the 2nd floor of the tavern. Subai emptied the contents of the bag onto the table. Those present were surprised. Could this really be a spatial bag? How many crystals could it hold? Lin Yu-chan's eyes lit up. The girl immediately began counting the crystals and recording all the information in her planner. The protagonist stated that he had another S-rank crystal. Would Yu-chan take that one too? The girl's eyes widened. Subai added that if she wanted this crystal, she could name her price. It was an S-rank class change crystal for Magical Scholar. Yu-chan thought she absolutely had to get her hands on this crystal and asked in return. How much did the young man want for it? Subai said that everything except the S-rank crystal could be calculated at market price. He would take 10% in cash and the rest in gold coins. The young man added that he would provide a list of materials that needed to be purchased for the crystal. Lin Yu-chan said she would handle that without any problem. Purchasing was her specialty. Subai handed over the list, and the girl told her assistant to start the purchases right away. The protagonist moved on to the topic of the S-crystal. How much was Yu-chan willing to offer for it? After a moment's thought, the girl replied that she was willing to pay 2 billion in cash. Subai was terribly surprised. Could this crystal really be that expensive? Yu-chan noted that S-rank crystals were goods that couldn't be bought, even with money. 2 billion was actually a bargain. In addition to 200,000 gold coins for the exchange, she promised to gift a mansion in Lingfeng City inside the tower. The assistants were surprised because in this city, real estate isn't sold to ordinary people even for money. This is the first city after passing through the tower. Subai thought that this house was worth no less than 2 billion. The girl adopted a wait-and-see attitude. The protagonist said he agreed and wouldn't haggle this time. He was ready to accept payment in a week. Yu-chan agreed and suggested signing the contract right away. The girl prepared a quill, ink, and a letterhead with the contract. Subai signed his name. The young people sealed the contract with a handshake and told each other that they were pleased to do business. The girl got the crystal and beamed with happiness. Subai asked if she had anything else to say. Yu-chan added that the whole world knew. Subai had mined an SSS rank crystal. If he wanted to join the Ling Corporation, they would always be happy to have him. The protagonist replied that he would decide on that later. At this stage, he had no plans to change classes. Lin Yu-chan asked why. Wasn't he afraid someone would try to take it away from him? Subai replied that there was no need to worry about that. He had his own plans. The young man waved his hand and said he was tired and wanted to rest. The guests had never seen Miss Lin be so polite before. Could this guy really be Subai? Most likely it was someone else, since Subai had cleared 10 floors. He wouldn't be walking around in a newbie's outfit. The players did indeed recognize this guy as the one who had cleared 10 floors. It was strange that he was wearing such clothes. He was probably just hiding his identity to avoid publicity. Dana thought that because of this, Subai had brought her entire business to a standstill. She definitely needed to deal with him. The tavern manager opened the door to the room and saw a young man sleeping on the sofa, fully clothed. Dana entered the room and thought the guy had hidden here from prying eyes. The tavern manager nudged the young man with her foot and told him to wake up. Subi rubbed his eyes and asked how Dana had ended up there. The girl leaned in and said that because of this guy, her entire business had come to a standstill. Either he would solve this problem right now, or she would solve the problem with him. Subai pulled gold coins out of his pockets. The guy tossed the coins in front of the girl and asked if that would be enough to settle the matter. Dana took the coins and said that, of course, it would be enough. She would handle the problem herself. Subai warned Dana to avoid bloodshed. The girl replied that she wasn't some kind of maniac. The protagonist said he had a business proposal for the tavern owner. Dana asked, does this guy really want to offer another cocktail recipe? How many more recipes does he have up his sleeve? Subai took a crystal out of his pocket and showed it to the girl. Dana declared that this guy was a real monster. How did he manage to extract an SSS rank crystal? The young man declared that he wanted to begin the trial of the gods. Dana was surprised. How did Subai even know about the trial of the gods? Our hero had gone through this trial more than 100 times in his past life, so he couldn't help but know. The young man replied that it didn't matter. The girl just had to say whether he was suitable. Dana stated that this very crystal served as the pass to the trial of the gods. The only reward was a crystal of a unique hidden class. Dana asked if Subai was sure he wanted to take the risk. If he agreed, this stone would vanish from his hands forever. He would have only one attempt. Subai said he wouldn't change his mind. The girl said that if the guy was eager to try, she wouldn't stand in his way. The protagonist remarked that he was resilient. He wasn't so easily destroyed. Dana clenched her fist and shattered the crystal into pieces. She said that in that case they would begin. The trial of the gods was activated. A magic circle appeared beneath the girl's feet. Donna warned him that it wasn't too late to change his mind. Subai was surprised. Since when had the girl become so talkative? Dinah pushed the boy and he fell inside the magic circle. At that very moment, the floor beneath the young man's feet vanished, and he fell into the abyss. As he fell, the young man shouted, "Not again?" Donna was surprised. What did "again" mean? Why did this guy seem so familiar to her? Subai fell onto a large stone slab. There was molten liquid surrounding the stone. The young man sat up and said that the trials of the gods felt familiar. He, Subai, had returned. The young man checked his status window. As expected, everything was exactly the same as in his past life. His inventory and equipment slots were locked. All buffs were temporarily disabled. The restrictions would be lifted after the trial was completed. Subai got to his feet and set off in the designated direction. The young man thought that, judging by the underground river, these were all heroes who had supposedly passed the trials. It sounds contradictory, but that's exactly how it is. The young man was here for the very same reason that made them heroes. Subai opened the system window. He really didn't have any bonuses and his inventory was locked. At least the golden pickaxe was still available. Subai grabbed the pickaxe. He knew a wave of grave demons was about to close in on him. He had to prepare for battle. The protagonist's current stats were higher than when he had gone through this in his past life. If he lost now, it would be a real disgrace. The arena was small, he couldn't fall into the lava. Elite-type level 10 grave demons emerged from the darkness and prepared to attack the stranger. Subai thought that there were more and more of these monsters. He couldn't delay. The young man launched his own attack. Every sword strike hit its mark. The monsters fell, slain, and vanished into the fiery lava. The protagonist thought the damage output was a bit weak. That meant he needed to work harder. The system kept a meticulous tally, recording the demons destroyed and the points accumulated. Another monster was destroyed, and the points pool was replenished with additional stat points. The young man used the steel slash technique. In addition to that, there were techniques like aura wave, piercing strike, and other moves that significantly boosted the player's combat power. The protagonist thought that if he hadn't known these techniques, he wouldn't have been able to pass the trial even with his experience fighting monsters. Subai was extremely pleased with himself, for he had already accumulated 100 points and earned a chance to recover. The tavern manager shouted loudly at the patrons. No one was to go beyond the second floor. Otherwise, she would shoot at the thieves. Dana added that Subai wasn't there. His SSS rank crystal had turned to dust. You could search for that guy all you wanted, but it wouldn't help. The players refused to believe that the crystal had been shattered. Dana said she had crushed the crystal with her own hands. If anyone didn't believe her, they could stick their head out and see if she had enough strength to crush their skull. In the guild meeting hall, they carefully examined the document provided by the player. The assistant informed the commander that a disaster had occurred. Dana from the tavern had crushed Subai's SSS crystal. Those present thought Dana couldn't be lying. After all, she was an NPC. Captain Su Kang was in despair. How could this guy have lost such an important crystal? Nan Tian reminded them that, in his opinion, this guy wasn't even fit for the first squad. Now it was clear he was useless. Pei Ling wondered what Nan Tian was even doing here. Nan Tian was surprised. Could it be that Ling Hui had taken a liking to this guy? The captain said that now was not the time to argue. After all, their SCS crystal had disappeared. Ling Shui pointed out that she wasn't the one who had crushed the crystal. Su Kang ordered the tower to be placed under guard. As soon as this guy leaves the newbie zone, he must be caught on the spot. Nan Tian asked why they should catch him, since they couldn't force him to make a new SSS crystal. Su Kang reminded them that this guy had broken the world speed record. That meant he had a special technique. That meant a year from now, he'd be able to make a new SSS crystal. Pei Ling Shu smiled and said that the captain was a true genius, smarter than everyone else put together. Nan Tian asked the captain what method to use on the young man. Brutal interrogation or intimidation? Su Kang was surprised. Could it be that Shi Nan Tian was some kind of thug? The captain said he would use gold. He would spend all the money in the world if necessary, but he would extract this technique from the boy. It was critically important for the future of the Yang country. The Trial of the Gods, Round 1. Subai fought monsters and offered them a taste of his blade. The system reported that the first round was complete. The young man breathed a sigh of relief. It had taken him 10 hours. The protagonist understood that this was only the first round. 9 more lay ahead. He needed to slay 1,000,000 monsters and reach the SSS rank. So far, only 11,000 monsters had been destroyed. There was still a lot of work ahead. The system announced the start of the second round. All stats had been restored. A wave of demons was attacking again. Subai thought he could continue now that his health had been restored. The end of the beginner period was approaching. He needed to speed up. Insect monsters appeared out of nowhere. The young man thought that if they stung him, he might start bleeding. The battle would be troublesome, but he had no choice. Subai activated his weapon swap. A basic quality spiked whip appeared in the young man's hand. It was good that he could switch weapons and armor here. Although the beginner's gear was weak, it was better than just a blade. Swinging the whip, the young man began to deal with the flying monsters more effectively. The protagonist decided that at this stage, the whip was perfect for him. These demons are poisonous and fast, but their defense is weak and they have little health. The Aura Wave Unleashed skill was activated. Over the course of 12 hours, a total of more than 250,000 insect monsters were destroyed. After a while, the young man breathed a sigh of relief. All the monsters had been destroyed. Subai changed weapons again. A spear appeared in his hand. The protagonist thought he had performed well at this level. The number of demons destroyed matched the stated goal. Subai decided to continue. The recovery process was initiated. The third round was reached and all stats were restored. A wave of magic goblins was approaching. Subai activated his weapon swap. A bow appeared in his hand. The protagonist realized that the magic goblins would attack from a distance. A short bow was ideal. He could fire arrows indiscriminately. The goblins lined up in a staggered formation and prepared for a ranged attack. Subai began firing arrows with precision. The monsters tried to retreat, but the protagonist's arrows caught up with them. Subai noted that when it came to speed, he was always up to the task and feared no one. Subai dodged the goblins' attacks thanks to his teleportation skill. Tower of the Gods, 10th floor, platform of nightmares. Lin Mengshuan is effectively dealing with the monster. The system congratulated the player on clearing the 10th floor of the tower. The completion time was 40 hours. The girl realized she had only come in second place. Because of this, she had some questions for Subai. The 6th day of the rookie trials. Downtown. Players and other townspeople listened intently to the news report. The players said that history was repeating itself. In the past 2 years, the city of Yang had started off strong, but fizzled out by the finish. Everyone was curious about where Subai was right now. At the tavern, Lin Yuchan and her assistant Zhang Fei were happily eating local pastries. The assistant asked why the lady had declined the invitation from Lin Mengshuan and Zhu Junxiu. Zhang Fei added that she shouldn't pass up such an opportunity for Subai's sake. If she joined forces with them, the Lin clan of East City could rise to a whole new level. Yuchan asked if Zhang Fei had prepared what she'd asked for last. After all, today was the last day. The assistant replied that everything was ready. Yuchan said she had her own plans, ones Zhang Fei wouldn't be able to understand. Lin Yuchan thought that 6 days had already passed. The anomaly status appeared almost immediately after rumors of the destroyed crystal. That meant Subai was still in the novice zone. What surprise would he have in store this time? The Trial of the Gods, Round 7. The monsters were advancing, but they were under intense pressure. Subai fired ice arrows one after another. The young man paid no attention to the monsters' defenses. Once frozen, they were as fragile as glass. Subai noted that it was already the 6th day. 3 more rounds. He needed to speed things up. The 8th round had been reached. All stats were restored. A wave of poisonous scarabs was approaching. The antagonist had set himself a goal: to finish all the fights before the rookie's time was up. The odds were stacked against him, and the young man noticed that the monsters were trying to surround him. He noted that it was a lost cause. 6 hours later, the protagonist was already fighting the boss. The young man declared that this boss was too slow. Subai, using his unique skills, sliced the monster in two. The system announced that the player had scored 1,000,000 points in the Trial of the Gods. There were 24 hours left until the end of the trial. Subai declared that 1,000,000 points was simply magnificent. Only the final level boss remained, and the hero achievement was already in the bag. Our hero approached the site of the final battle and told the boss to come out and fight him. The monster was the Red Lotus Demon, the Demon King, a level 10 boss. The protagonist saw the monster and said he recognized it. The monster swung its weapon and shouted that this man would now be destroyed. Subai jumped aside and thought that this monster was just as troublesome as ever. A true Demon King. The protagonist thought that with a defense of 2,000 points, he wouldn't be able to deal any damage to this monster at all. So he had to wait for that one moment when he could break through its defense. The monster attacked the young man, and Subai kept shifting his position to dodge the blow. The young man thought he'd played this game many times in his past life. Our hero used the cat's claw to achieve his goal. He said that this time would be much more fun. Subai was standing on a huge flying rock. The Demon King, flapping his wings, waited for his opponent to approach. The young man suggested the monster try some lava and approach the Demon King to strike. The monster screamed that he would tear this man to pieces, but the protagonist wasn't scared and kept getting closer to his opponent. Subai promised to avenge all the heroes that this Red Lotus demon had destroyed. Subai leaped high into the air and aimed 3 arrows at the monster at once. The arrows hit their mark, and the protagonist continued his all-out assault. Our hero declared that if he could break through this monster's defenses, it would be instantly destroyed. The young man switched weapons and continued his attack, using his sword. He declared that it was time to finish this monster off. The system announced that the player had passed the trial of the gods, scoring over 1,000,000 points. The requirement for obtaining the Soul Hidden class had been met. As soon as the points were exchanged, the hero superclass could be obtained. Subai said that this class was off the charts, higher than any Wes's rank. In his past life, it was only thanks to this class that he had cleared all 999 floors. The protagonist declared that he wouldn't rush to switch. First, the young man decided to check whether the legend of the golden hoe was true. Subai threw the hoe down from the cliff. The young man knew that according to legend, this tool had the ability to copy objects. The protagonist thought the hoe had simply vanished. Now it was gone. However, the legend turned out to be true. 2 glowing orbs of different colors appeared. The system announced that the player had received a dual class, Hero and Demon King. For a moment, Subai became two-faced and was horrified by his own state. At that moment, Subai possessed the following equipment: Clock of All Things, Gloves of the Fire Dragon, Crusader's Armor of Purple Gold. Subai noticed that his stats had now increased at least 5-fold. His attack power had doubled thanks to his passives. His mana was now infinite. The protagonist declared that the senior heroes could rest easy. He could now confidently carry on their work. Lin Yu-chan decided to check her friends' list and finally saw that Subai had appeared there too. Everyone in the tavern felt the floor shake beneath their feet. Could it be an earthquake? Or was it just the rumbling from the upper floor? Dana entered the visitor's room and saw Subai. The girl asked, "Did the guy really pull it off?" The young man nodded affirmatively. Dana couldn't believe he had actually taken that very class. Dana was surprised. How was that possible? After all, the hero and the Demon King weren't supposed to exist together. Subai replied that he hadn't expected anything less from the true, most powerful force. The tavern manager understood everything at a glance. Subai stretched and said it was time to stop hiding and see the world. The young man asked if Dana would like to keep him company. The girl replied that the outside world wasn't for her. The young man declared that he would return here when he missed the drinks from this tavern. The girl tossed a token to the young man and told him to take it. It could be considered a reward for passing the trial of the gods. Subai grabbed the item and said it was a generous gift. It was a concealment token. It could hide the owner's items, status, and appearance. Dana realized she simply didn't want this guy to die too soon. The tower was full of forces hostile to the Demon King. If Subai kept walking around out in the open like that, some monsters would quickly finish him off. As he vanished, our hero said he'd known it all along. Dana was worried about him after all. The young man thanked her. The tavern manager told him to get out immediately. The city of Rome. This is the first major city after leaving the beginner's village. Here players take on quests, learn skills, and travel through city portals to the floors of the tower. Subai, looking around, said that everything here looked familiar to him. The young man thought that he had finally returned. A group of people appeared before our hero. Subai thought they had found him too quickly. Lin Yu-chan said that she had finally found him. Why had Subai been offline for so many days? Yu-chan invited our hero to come inside and make himself comfortable. Subai replied that he wouldn't say no. The guy thought that the Lin family didn't skimp on anything. They had opened a luxurious private club right in the center of Rome. Subai told the girl she could count it. He had found almost everything on the list. Yu-chan noted that Subai worked quite quickly. The girl added that, minus the 3,000 gold spent on purchasing materials, the remaining 17,000 were here. Yu-chan asked what the guy's current class rank was. The protagonist was surprised. Why did she need to know that? Yu-chan clarified that she wasn't trying to pry into his secrets. It was just that rumors were circulating that Subai had lost his class change crystal. A lot of mud was being slung at the young man online. The protagonist was surprised. How did they know the crystal was gone? Lin Yu-chan surmised that Dana, the owner of the newbie tavern, had let slip that she had personally crushed it. Subai admitted that Dana hadn't lied. The crystal was indeed gone. Yu-chan was surprised. Why didn't the guy look upset or at least angry? Lin Yu-chan surmised that Subai was an exceptional person, a true elite. That's why he didn't care about the XSS crystal. The girl thought, if this guy is so calm, then he might have another crystal just like it. Subai replied that having just one SSS crystal wasn't a problem. The protagonist told Yu-chan to speak plainly. What does she want? The girl replied that she wanted to invite the guy to join the Lin Guild. In that case, they would farm bosses together. Subai thought it was a logical suggestion. After all, once you leave the beginner's zone, the game's difficulty spikes dramatically. Looking for allies is standard practice. The young man replied that he wasn't opposed to the idea, but he wouldn't be joining a guild. He offered to guide Yu-chan through the first 5 floors. The group needed 5 mages with high damage output. Lin Yu-chan was surprised. After all, usually a raid of 20 people is assembled to clear a floor. Was Subai sure that the 5 of them could handle it? The protagonist said she didn't have to believe him. The reward for records was smaller anyway than for a first kill. He wasn't particularly interested in that. Yu-chan said she wasn't refusing. She was just surprised. The girl asked when they could start, and she also wondered if they could add the Lin Guild prefix to the group's name. Subai replied that he didn't care either way. They'd start tomorrow because he still had things to do today. Zhongfei's assistant pointed out that this guy doesn't have an SSS crystal. Does the lady really believe he can lead them to a record? He looks like a total con artist. Yu-chan pointed out that as a rookie, he had single-handedly taken down 4 people like Zhongfei. If they had gone all the way back then and become enemies, they would have been stuck in the rookie zone forever. Yu-chan ordered her assistant to find 4 B-rank mages. Zhongfei harbored a personal grudge against the protagonist and decided he would destroy this guy. The city lord's residence. Subai heads straight for the central gate. A passerby asked, has this guy really had enough of living? Subai received information that Wu Sai was standing before him. The protagonist asked, why is this guy blocking my path? Wu Sai stated that one cannot break into the residence. The guards would spear him in a second. Our hero confided in his companion that he knew the only way to get inside. He had to become strong enough. The guard warned that the Lord was currently at the training ground. Wu Sai and his friends were surprised. Had this guy really managed to enter the Lord's residence? The guards led our hero to the training ground. The protagonist saw the captain of the guards training diligently. It was Orlando Mullen, a level 180 Earth mage. Next to him stood the Lord of the City of Rome, Black Rian, a level 200 great swordsman. Subai thought he was in luck. He had stumbled right into the famous training cutscene. Here one could learn rare skills for free. A guard told the hero to wait a moment. The city lord and the captain of the guards were currently sparring. The protagonist decided to take advantage of the opportunity and study all the skills on offer. He also acquired the Orlando skill. 10 minutes later, the training session was over. The protagonist had only managed to learn the very first skills. The guard reported to the city lord that the hero was waiting for him. Black Rian asked the protagonist if he could take a look at his badge. Subai provided the necessary proof, and the city lord, along with the captain of the guards, knelt and greeted the hero. Black Rian hadn't thought that a hero would actually appear again after 100 years. Subai was surprised. What did the words "again after 100 years" mean? The protagonist recalled that in his past life, the Lord had said the same thing. Black Rian explained that according to legend, every 100 years an adventurer bearing the title hero appears in the tower. This hero will destroy the darkness and lead the city to dawn. Subai wondered, why are legends always so vague? Subai suggested leaving the legends behind. The young man said he had come here to receive quests. Were there any available? Black Rian told the hero that his dog was lost. Could the young man find it? 10 gold coins would be offered as a reward. The hero was indignant. Did the Lord really think he was a beggar? The captain of the guards stated that if the hero wouldn't mind, he had a few tasks. Skill points or basic books would be given as a reward. Orlando Mullen felt that asking the hero to look for a dog was truly an insult. The mage Orlando Mullen suggested gathering 200 skull flowers. The reward would be 10 skill points. The mage also suggested gathering 1,000 skull souls. The reward would be 10 skill points. The protagonist thanked the captain for his respect. Lord Rome said he had remembered. He also had a suitable quest. The Great Swordsman. Black Rien offered a quest, an anomaly in the suburbs of Rome. The reward is 10 skill points. Subai thought this was Rome's main storyline. It's the 10th season, and no one has touched it yet. People are too fixated on leveling up and forget that quests are the best way to level up. The Lord of Rome said he'd heard that all those bearing the title hero are unrivaled masters of combat. Would the young man do them the honor? Black Rien asked the hero to spar with him as a training session. Subai agreed to the challenge quest. He asked what this sparring session would entail. The protagonist really didn't want to fight this NPC, but the reward was substantial, so it didn't make sense to refuse. Black Rien thanked the hero for the opportunity and promised to lock his level and skills. Subai told Lord not to adjust to his level. He could simply limit himself to level 30. Our hero suggested that the captain of the guards join as well. Orlando Mullen told the hero that at level 30, they had access to many basic techniques. Subai said that the conversation was tiring him. He didn't have much time, so he suggested they get started quickly. The captain of the guards and the city lord apologized for their insolence. The spectators noted that the last time the lord and the captain fought together, they defeated a level 200 elite boss. Subai decided to warm up first. The lord and the captain of the guards said they would first test the hero's strength. Black Ryan lunged forward and landed the first blow. Subai wasn't even phased. The lord's strike hit empty air. His opponent had suddenly vanished. The next moment, Subai appeared behind the lord and said that the timing wasn't bad. The protagonist struck. The captain of the guards activated the Stone Spike skill. It was a basic level earth magic spell. The spectators were surprised. What kind of technique did the hero have? How could he move so fast? His strength was simply monstrous. This was truly worthy of the title of hero. Black Rien said that in that case, the opponent would now get a taste of their true power. The Quagmire skill was activated. It was a basic level skill. Black Rien delivered a second strike. However, the hero seemed invulnerable. Subai dodged effectively, and Lord Shockwave flew past him. Black Ryan launched a series of lunges and jabs. However, the protagonist parried all the attacks effectively. The Lord shouted that he would achieve his goal no matter what and activated the third strike skill. The hero acted in an unconventional manner. Subai took the captain of the guards hostage and held a sword to his throat. Black Rien was taken aback. Lord said that the young man was moving incredibly fast. The captain lost in less than half a minute. The hero truly lived up to his title. Subai told the Lord not to stand still, but to attack. Black Rien thought, could this really be 10th level power? The Lord activated the Flaming Sword skill and shouted that he would never give up. A dash was initiated and the fourth strike was landed. Subai, just like at the start of the fight, instantly teleported and found himself behind his opponent. The Sword Wave skill was activated. Black Ryan dropped to the ground and admitted defeat. The protagonist rested his sword on the city lord's shoulder and told him he still had much to learn. Black Rien admitted that in his youth, he had heard that the hero had no equal at that level. He hadn't believed it, but now he realized he had been deeply mistaken. The captain of the guards added that even if they had lowered their level to 50, the hero would still have found a way to defeat them. Subai noted that their opponents had pretty good skill control. When he had time, he would come back here to spar again. However, now it was time for him to carry out his missions. Black Rien remarked that they would always be happy to have Lord Hero visit. The protagonist told them not to see him off and skipped off to complete his tasks. The Lord declared that this guy was truly the one who would lead them to the dawn. The captain of the guards asked what this dawn after darkness was. The city of Rome is huge, so players usually use teleports. Taxis and public transportation aren't in demand here. Subai decided to learn the skills first and then go on quests. That would be safer and faster. Uppercut throws the enemy into the air, and combined with series of stabs, you can perform an endless combo. The young man decided he'd take Stone Spike as well. Now he'd be able to spam attacks endlessly. Clearing out mobs would look spectacular. For equipment, he used the Clock of All That Is, Gloves of the Fire Dragon, and Crusader's Armor of Purple Gold. High stats are OP. His skills immediately leveled up by 10, plus the hero's passive instantly maxed out his mastery. The young man thought that with such a combo, nothing could scare him. The guards asked where the young man was headed. He replied that he was interested in the lands of the fallen. The guard warned that it would cost 80 copper coins. The return trip was double the fare. The protagonist thought that if he had bought a monthly pass earlier, it would have been much cheaper. Subai felt a wave of seasickness and thought that if there were a few more teleports, he would definitely throw up. The land of the fallen. Subai arrived at his destination. In real life, it was nothing like the game. Everything looked very real. The young man had a huge sword slung over his shoulder. It was the only thing left after he had sold everything else. It didn't feel that way in the game, but in reality, it was freezing cold. He should have been more prepared and dressed warmer. Suddenly, monsters appeared in the young man's path. They were skeleton warriors. They were level 21 and of the common type. Subai said it was time to test out his new skills. The young man used his unique skills and attacked the monsters. The monsters were destroyed and experience points were gained. The young man noted that magic attacks were no joke. The protagonist was extremely pleased. He liked this kind of farming. This wasn't like the levels for newbies. The monster hunt continued. The system announced that the player had reached level 11 and gained 20 skill points. Subai remembered that in his previous life, the hero class granted 10 points per level, and that was considered wildly overpowered. F classes only got 1 point each. Did dual classes really double the points as well? A new level granted 50 points to all stats. The protagonist thought that even the SSS class couldn't hold a candle to this. The newly arrived monsters were also attacked. The young man decided that if his class didn't limit his skill list, he should farm quests that granted skill points. A huge silhouette appeared behind the ordinary monsters. The protagonist was surprised. Who else could it be? It was a mini-boss, the Fire Skull monster, a level 48 creature. Subai didn't mind because the bigger and stronger the monsters, the more fun the farming. A new group of ordinary skeletons was destroyed in the same way. Fire Skull stepped forward and shouted loudly. The mini-boss was eager for battle. Subai thought, could it be that the boss himself had stirred? The young man had warned that his mana was infinite, so this mini-boss was in for a rough ride. However, the sacrifice ritual began. Subai decided this was bad. The more skeletons Skullfire devoured, the higher the damage would be. The young man thought, if this boss sacrifices all the skeletons, it won't be enough during the battle. He needed to come up with something. Subai used his newly acquired skills and effectively attacked the mini-boss. The protagonist warned his opponent that this was just a warm-up, so there was no need to provoke him too much. Our hero was glad that his skills didn't require a cooldown. Because of this, he could spam them without looking back. Skullfire took a crushing blow, and his skull actually burst into flames. Subai told his opponent that he should have leveled up earlier instead of slacking off. The system congratulated the player on reaching level 12. He was awarded 20 skill points. The guy saw 2 skull flowers in front of him. This was the basis for the next quest. The following items were also found: the Flaming Skull Sword and the Summon Undead skill book. The system congratulated him on learning the Summon Undead skill. This skill allows him to summon 3 levelless skeletons. Subai decided to test the skill right away and summon the skeletons. The young man reasoned that if these skeletons were levelless, it meant they were bound to him. With those stats, they were on par with a level 40 mob. Subai decided that while this wouldn't be much use in a duel, in large-scale battles, they'd be a pure meat shield army. Now these skeletons would work for their master. The protagonist gave the task of collecting the skull flower. The young man loved it when others did everything for him. Swamp of Doom! A new map had been unlocked. The young man saw the monsters and declared that he had found yet another batch of potential pets. Subai ordered the 3 skeletons to immediately attack the local monsters. The skeletons eagerly set about carrying out the task. A summoned unit, the Spiked Skeleton, appeared before the protagonist. Subai noted that this monster had decent armor. The system reported that the Summon Undead skill level had been raised to level 2. Subai was surprised. What on earth had his skeletons done there? The protagonist decided to check out what was going on. The young man saw a huge monster. He wondered how many small creatures had to be sacrificed on the altar to conjure such a beast. Subai attacked this monster as well, using his unique abilities, acquired through immense effort. The young man fought the creature created by a necromancer through a forbidden ritual. The young man activated his magic circle of skills and said he would put the monster out of its misery. The monster proved invulnerable. Subai said it was the first time he'd seen such a sturdy monster. However, persistence led to the desired result. The monster sustained its first serious wound and, bleeding profusely, let out a loud scream. Subai landed another series of powerful blows. The monster's health rapidly decreased. As a result of his aggressive actions, the monster was destroyed. Subai admitted that this monster was large, so it took longer than usual to deal with it. The second quest had no time limit, so the young man decided not to rush. Subai headed to the western part of Rome. Passers-by wondered who he was and why he had such a huge sack stuffed with all sorts of junk. Our hero traded the contents of the bag for cash. The protagonist was upset. After all, he'd been grinding mobs all night, and in the end, he only got a few dozen gold pieces. Farming for records is much more profitable. There were low-level blacksmiths all around, but the young man wanted to find a decent blacksmith of a higher level. Suddenly, our hero was stopped by some passers-by. One of them said that Subai had lost his SSS job change crystal and still had the nerve to show his face in public. Subai thought that in these clothes, only people from the Lin clan would recognize him. There were too many people around. He had to leave. The protagonist moved outside the city limits. However, a group of people relentlessly followed him. People were pointing at Subai and shouting loudly that he was the legendary super rookie. The protagonist insisted that he wasn't Subai, just a humble Mr. Su. One of the passers-by said that Subai and Mr. Su were two completely different things. Jin Pengtian, a level 49 player, said that Subai had lost the SSS crystal. Wasn't he going to explain himself to the public? Subai told these guys to get a grip. After all, if he lost his own stuff, why should he have to answer to anyone? The players declared that everything looted in Yang Country's newbie zone belongs to Yang Country. Subai replied to the approaching crowd that he was short on time. One of the players ordered the first squad to attack. The second squad moves in. The third squad monitors the health bar. Now this Subai won't be able to wriggle out of it. Subai decided that now was the perfect time to stretch his legs. The young man was surprised. Could these people really be gathering in such a force to destroy him? The protagonist counterattacked the attackers and quickly took them down. The player thought that this guy could take down level 30s with a single blow. You couldn't even see the cast animation. His skills had no cast time at all. Pure instant. The squad commander ordered the shield bearers to fall into formation. Subai continued to attack his opponents with his unique method. The shield bearers were defeated. Their shields shattered into pieces. Spectators watching from the sidelines realized that this was no longer a player. It was a real raid boss. No wonder he had broken every record in the newbie zone. The commander ordered them to act more aggressively. The ranged warriors must attack for real, giving it their all. Subai activated Stonewall and said that the opponents were acting like children. Who attacks like that? The squad commander said this was outright cheating. The only option was to simply run away. Subai rushed in pursuit, overtook the leader of the attackers, and stopped in front of him. Our hero placed his sword on the opponent's shoulder and told him to confess immediately. Who sent him? The opponent admitted that no one had sent him. He asked for forgiveness. He couldn't confess without betraying his entire family. On the other hand, this guy understood that if he told the truth, he would still meet his end. The villain pulled a dagger from behind his back, pointed it at his rival, and said that in that case, more than one person would die. Subai did what he had to do. The villain was destroyed. All it took was a single swing of the sword. Subai left the battlefield. The guy said that even if they didn't tell him, he would find out everything he needed to know anyway. The protagonist turned at the sound of a voice and saw Lin Yu-chan. The girl looked alarmed. Behind her stood servants holding the bound Zhang Fei. Yu-chan apologized and said she had brought the traitor and was ready to accept any punishment for it. Subai asked why they had wanted to destroy him. Zhang Fei was indignant. Why exactly should this guy enjoy his mistress's favor? Subai's self-confidence annoyed him. The protagonist said that it was up to Ling Yu-chan herself to decide what to do with this man. The girl replied that she would punish the traitor according to the clan's laws. Yu-chan apologized for the trouble she had caused. The mages quickly dealt with the traitor. Subai thought that the girl resolved issues in an extremely radical way. The portal to the 11th floor of the tower was ready. Subai said that everyone was already assembled so they could form a party. The young man realized that all that awaited them was a lair of creatures infected by alien gods from the upper levels of the tower. Yu-chan reported that she had brought 3 wind mages and 1 fire mage. All of them were level 20 and held B rank. Subai asked everyone to show him their skills. There was quite a sight to behold. The protagonist noted that he had one condition. These people might be weak players, but orders must be obeyed. Violations would be punished. Yu-chan explained that these were the best fighters in her guild. The other players thought that the Ling Guild didn't mess around, so they really were heading to the 11th floor with this lineup. Yu-chan saw the number of monsters and asked, shouldn't they really recruit more people? Subai explained that on the 11th floor, the number of mobs scales with the party size. Did Yu-chan really not know that? He could have handled it faster alone. But their goal was to break the record, not to turn the world upside down. The preparation time was almost up. The squad prepared for battle. Subai ordered no one to retreat. Their first opponent was a level 13 wolf devourer. The commander said he would take on the first waves attacking head-on. Subai effectively attacked the approaching opponents and earned the necessary points. It was a typical dungeon experience. Yu-chan was surprised. Did he really have no cooldowns on his skills at all? The girl thought that it was no wonder this guy was called Subai. No mage she had ever seen fought like that. The monsters were destroyed. Subai noted that there was nothing remarkable about this. There was no great artistry to be seen here. The mages were satisfied. They were truly lucky today. They had latched onto that very leg. Subai said they were moving on and no one was to fall behind. The squad climbed onto a cliff and assessed the scale of the upcoming battles from above. Now everyone was participating in the battle. Each player's role had been carefully assigned. Lin Yushan demonstrated her skills in all their glory. She proved that she was not just an ordinary member of the Lin Guild. Hill. The squad formed a circular defense, and Subai told Yu-chan to summon the Ifrit. The girl activated her unique abilities, and her pet was summoned. It was a fire monster. Subai ordered everyone to prepare for battle and not to be distracted by external stimuli. The protagonists decided they would face these monsters head-on. Level 14 was well within their capabilities. The squad once again followed the planned scenario. Everything went like clockwork. The summoned pet, Ifrit, showed what he was capable of in real combat. Subi thought, the more this Ifrit slays mobs, the more energy he accumulates. He even began to share it. Ifrit had already created numerous copies, which greatly simplified the fight against the monsters. Yu-chan warned, when the Ifrit splits into 8, it only lasts 10 minutes. The skill cooldown is up to half an hour. The girl asked what they should do next. Once the Ifrits disappeared, they wouldn't be able to keep the hill chills at bay. Subai warned that the Ifrit wouldn't disappear. However, the Ifrit was finished. Yu-chan noted that the flames had blown off the Ifrit, and it had crumbled into a stone statue. Subai told everyone not to panic. Now it was his turn. The protagonist activated his unique abilities, drawing on an endless source of mana. Yu-chan realized with surprise that this was a summoning of the dead. Subai said that this Ifrit, combined with his magical attack, dealt insane damage. The mages acknowledged that this was truly a leg worth holding on to. This guy was indeed SSS rank. Now it was clear why the lady had treated him that way from the very beginning. Lin Yu-chan thought that less than 2 hours had passed since they entered Dange. They were truly ready to break the record. The Wang Guild's council hall, the leader was furious. Why couldn't his people handle a newbie? On top of that, the Lin clan was against them. The girl told Brother Zishi not to worry. The leader noted that if the Li and Wang clans united, the Lin clan wouldn't be a threat to them. The girl added that this scandal might even turn out to be beneficial. The guy asked what her plan was. The girl pointed out that Yu-chan is now officially listed as the first heiress of the Lin clan. They could spread a rumor that Subai, the sinner of Yang country, lost the SSS crystal because of a deal with the Lin heiress. The leader said that was brilliant. He was curious to see how the Lin clan would wriggle out of this. The guy added that Li Yuezhan was the best strategist. He would immediately issue the necessary orders. The 11th floor of the tower, the dead of snow plains. Subai noted that after passing this section, a cave awaits them, where the floor's boss is located. In this battle, the snow monsters used wind magic. The mage told the lady that it was a tornado spell. The girl agreed. You can notice that their progress was already at 90%. Apparently, they really would break the record. Subai told everyone not to let their guard down. They were continuing to move forward. Chaos reigned at the cave entrance. The players asked themselves in surprise what was going on here. Lin Yushan asked the commander what they should do now. The young man replied that Ifrit would go with him, while the rest would stay at the entrance. The protagonist noted that this was the final stretch, and so he would handle it on his own. Yuchan was surprised. Did Subai really want to go alone? One of the mages asked the lady if they really shouldn't stop him. Yuchan said he would go alone. The girl added that this guy had never lost a single time. Subai activated his fiery wings. The young man used the Battle Fist skill. The passive ability of the Fire Dragon gloves, Flame Burst, triggers upon impact, causing a fire magic explosion. This is a perfect rank item. Battle Fist envelops the fists in energy that can be released. Its long duration makes it a standard skill for fighters. Subai decided to test what his fist fighting school was capable of. The flame looked like pure magical damage. The mage was surprised. Could the leader actually be a fist fighter as well? Subai thought that being both a mage and a fighter was simply unmatched. Melee techniques with magical damage provide double the power. The protagonist decided that fighting the minions was taking too long. He needed to get as close to the boss as possible. To achieve a cleaner result, the hero summoned his skeleton pets. The young man called these pets his guardian army. The order was given to block the entrance to the cave. The system reported that the Summon Undead skill had been upgraded to level 6. The number of summons is limited to 20. Subai felt a surge of power. He enjoyed commanding his own army. The mages asked Yuchan if this was really just a tower run. It felt like they'd stumbled into an epic raid. Mr. Subai was incredibly cool. Yuchan noted that this guy took a straightforward approach without any tricks. The next monster was a huge, voracious level 18 snow bear. Subai was delighted. Finally, a boss had appeared. The protagonist activated his combat fist and decided to fight the boss in close combat, one-on-one. The young man dodged the bear's attack and said he was ready for some fun. The boss turned out to be as slow-moving as all bears, so the young man managed to land numerous blows all over its body. Subai noted that this boss possessed brute strength. He needed to finish it very quickly, otherwise it would be difficult to hold out for long. The bear attacked his opponent again. The protagonist activated the charge ram skill. Subai decided to put an end to this battle and attacked the monster again, using Fire Fist. The boss roared loudly and its health dropped to a minimum. The monster collapsed to the ground and its body showed no signs of life. Subai announced that the boss had been defeated. It was a relief that they'd managed to handle it so quickly. The mages were surprised. Had the squad leader really already taken down the boss? What on earth had happened? The system reported that the squad had cleared the 11th floor. Yuchan confirmed that they had indeed succeeded. This guy hadn't even entered the cave, and the battle was already over. A report came in that Subai, leading the Ling Guild squad, had set a new record for clearing the 11th floor of the tower. In the city of Rome, local citizens were discussing the news. How did Subai manage to pull this off since he has no class? Someone suggested that it was all thanks to Lin Yuchan herself. Even though she's just an S-rank fire mage, how could she possibly compete with a Holy Knight's record? On the 11th floor, where the monsters are stronger, only Holy Light classes can defeat them with ease. Even Li Junxie couldn't clear the 11th floor in less than 20 hours. The Yang Country Military Headquarters. Captain Su Kang said he had sent a squad to find this man. He's already setting records, and they haven't even found his trail. What kind of job is this? Nantian reported that, according to intelligence, Subai had been spotted outside the city of Rome. Single-handedly, he wiped out a squad of players above level 30. Furthermore, Subai isn't listed in any rankings. But considering he sold an SSS crystal, even in the worst-case scenario, he must be of a significant level. Nantian added that a preliminary assessment of Subai's potential suggests he is at least SS level. The captain ordered immediate contact to be made with this man. Su Kang fell deep in thought. Who exactly is Subai? Even his class is unknown. Could he really possess a unique artifact? Although such a level of skill cannot be explained by a single item. An assistant rushed into the room and reported urgent news to the chief. Su Kang reviewed the information and said that couldn't be true. The report stated that player Subai, leading a squad from the Lin Guild, had set a new record for clearing the 12th floor of the tower. 3 hours and 2 minutes. The 12th floor of the tower. The Abyss of Shadows. The boss, Neri, a level 22 monster. Subai asked the squad if they could still hold their ground. Yuchan replied that the leader's pace in clearing the floors was much faster than usual. Subai noted that if necessary, the squad could be replaced. The main thing was having mages. Lin Yuchan stood up straight and said she was fine and could still hold her own. The mages confirmed her words. Subai headed for the 13th floor and told everyone to hurry up and follow him. Yuchan thought that Subai was clearly a top-tier talent, even among SSS players. How else could one explain that he had taken down the bosses of the 11th and 12th floors in less than 10 minutes? The guild's meeting room. The leader said they were all doomed. This guy's a total monster. Now even elite squads are fighting over this SSS rookie. Wang Zizi noted that Li Yujian was very clever. All their previous plans had been her idea. Yujian didn't understand what Zizi was talking about. Zizi was indignant. What does that mean? What about their relationship? Li Yuejin declared that childhood engagements were nothing more than a joke. Wang Zizi told Yuejin not to forget. The idea to set a trap for this guy was hers. The girl claimed she didn't remember anything like that. Junji thought this girl was a real actress. Yujian headed for the exit and said that Zizi had turned out to be useless. The 13th floor of the tower, the plane of filth. The players continue moving forward. Yuchan and her mages provide offensive support for the main force, namely their commander. The level 22 slashing rabbits were very energetic. Subai noticed that it was taking too long to defeat them, as there were now so many of them. The protagonist ordered each player to take on several burrows. Our hero activated the fireball skill to drive the monsters out of their burrows. The rabbits rushed toward the burrow exits and got stuck. Subai said that now they wouldn't be able to escape. Subai promised these monsters he would burn down their lairs so they wouldn't keep jumping out one by one and wasting his time. Lin Yuchan told the squad leader that they had already stormed 3 floors in a row. Where did the young man get his strength from? The group of players approached the estate. The gates were locked, even though there were people inside. Winslet in level 25. In addition to the monster and small children, there were monster hounds in this place. Subai warned that the boss was inside so the squad would wait for him outside. The mages noted that the squad leader was playing for them. It was simply magnificent. Subi kicked the gate and told Winsleton to prepare for death. The monster was outraged. Did this guy really dare to enter his mansion? That meant he'd signed his own death warrant. Lin Yushan told the mages to stay back. The monster gestured toward the guests, and the dogs pounced on our hero. Subai activated a barrier, and the monster dogs took damage upon colliding with it. Winsleton continued to carry out his devious plan. An unbearable sound rang out. Yushan and the mages covered their ears with their hands. It was impossible to listen to. Subai drew his blade and charged at the monster. The young man said that this old dog was useless. The protagonist closed in and launched an effective attack on the monster. The monster screamed that these intruders would surely be punished. Yuchan and the mages continued to cover their ears. They were completely overwhelmed by this sonic attack. The protagonist, swinging his sword, destroyed the primitive monsters, repeating that the sound attack had no effect on him. The monster was outraged. Could it be that his sound attack wasn't getting through at all? Subai attacked and destroyed the monster. The young man said that with such a reserve of spirit, this monster was just a warm-up for him. Yuchan was surprised. Had they really defeated the monster so quickly this time as well? Subai said that now they could rest and recover for a few hours, and then continue on their way. Lin Yuchan was delighted to hear about the break. After all, they had been fighting non-stop for almost a day. That evening, by the fire, the mage said they were already exhausted. However, it was worth it. Leveling up had never felt so satisfying. Yuchan handed the young man some food and told him to eat up. He hadn't stopped for a second. Surely he had become the strongest of them all. Subai replied that he felt fine. Subai decided to test whether the clock of all things could level up skills. It turned out that it was possible. However, the leveling up time was about 30 days. To complete it instantly, one had to pay 10,000 gold coins. The system congratulated the player on successfully upgrading the skill. Rank B Sliding Ice Spear obtained. The protagonist had to spend a lot of coins again for instant leveling. However, he understood that A-rank skills don't just fall from the sky. Subai decided to calm down a bit and get some real rest. Ever since he entered the newbie zone, he hadn't eaten a proper meal. The mages thought this guy was already SSS tier, yet he still worked like a man possessed. He was even willing to eat wax-tasting energy bars for weeks on end for the sake of his stats. Even though he was so strong, he still wouldn't leave the dungeons. The mages told the leader that they'd already rested and were ready to continue at any time. Yu-chan was surprised. Had she missed some dramatic moment? Subai said that was great. If everyone was ready, they could set off. The protagonist ordered everyone on this floor to stay close to him and not fall behind. The 14th floor of the tower. The labyrinth of stone giants. The battle with the monsters was in full swing. The monster was a level 24 fire beetle. Next, the party had to fight the monster Vine Devourer. Yu-chan asked the leader if they were sure they hadn't lost their way. Why was it so empty here anyway? The protagonist replied that he wasn't the kind of person who led the party in circles. Next, a level 29 double magic golem monster appeared. Subai said he hadn't seen these old guys in a long time. The young man decided to test how strong their bones still were. The magic golem was ready for a fierce battle. Subai leaped high into the air, swung his mace, and activated the charge ram skill. The young man said that he was facing a solid stone block. Subai struck and jumped aside to avoid a counterattack. One of the golems was wounded in the head. Subai used his teleportation skill to change locations. The protagonist declared that the monster wouldn't be able to block the damage. That wasn't why he'd trained for so long. Our hero swung and delivered a powerful blow to the wall, smashing a hole in it. A powerful stream of light poured through the newly formed hole, accompanied by a release of excess energy. Yu-chan noted that this counterattack had enormous potential. The protagonist continued to act decisively and effectively. He approached the other head of the magical golem. The young man struck the head with his mace and said he wanted to test a new skill. After the blow, Subai jumped aside and added that the golem could now shatter into pieces. The young man declared that was it. The demonstration and testing of the skill were complete. After another crushing blow, the left side of the magical golem shattered into pieces. The remaining head, despite the gaping hole, continued to radiate powerful negative energy. As a result of the active actions, the golem was finally shattered into tiny fragments. Subai landed on the ground and declared that this monster was finished. Yuan shouted for Subai to be careful. After all, those fragments could reassemble into the boss. The protagonist replied that that would never happen. All the large fragments were sealed off with ice magic. The mages thought they had never seen such a fighting style before. Their leader didn't let the boss recover. Right on the spot, he froze all the fragments in place. The system congratulated the players on clearing the 14th floor. Player Subai, leading the Ling Guild squad, set a new clear record. Lin Yu-chan thought it was simply magnificent. Subai told everyone not to fall behind. There was only one floor left. Central Avenue in the city of Rome. Player Subai still hadn't appeared on the class list. The townspeople wondered, would this guy really keep setting records at this pace? Wang Zizi, accompanied by his men, appeared in Central Square. He wondered, is Subai even human? He had already cleared the 14th floor. The system reported that player Subai, leading the Ling Guild squad, had set a new record for clearing the 15th floor. Wang Zizi couldn't help but say that this was clearly over the top. Tower of the Gods, 15th floor. Subai said goodbye to the squad and told them they would see each other again. By this time, the monsters had been destroyed. Yu-chan asked Subai not to rush. This time the Ling clan had gained too much. She wanted to discuss compensation with her father. Subai was surprised. What kind of compensation was she talking about? The girl said she had a lot to offer. Among other things, gold. Subai agreed. The young man added if they needed more records, they could contact him. He was even willing to give a 20% discount to regular customers. Yu-chan was intrigued by the offer. 20% was very tempting. The girl added that in that case, she wanted to reserve the first 30 floors for her clan. Subai already regretted what he had just promised. However, promises must be kept. Eden thought that even if she had to pawn her property to raise the gold, the 20 records would still be credited to the Ling Guild. The clan's rise was only a matter of time. Subai said he had one condition. He wanted only Yu-chan. The girl was taken aback. Wasn't Subai being a bit too blunt? The protagonist clarified that he meant the party should consist only of the two of them. He no longer needed any dead weight. Yu-chan said that was doable. As for storming the tower, she would rely entirely on the leader and try not to get in the way. The girl recalled that on the 14th and 15th floors, they had already slowed the leader down significantly. He had to wait for them constantly. Yu-chan confirmed that she agreed. Subai stated that in that case, they would meet in 3 days at the same time and place. Various quests were available to the young man within the city of Rome. He decided that he would be able to complete some of them over the next 3 days. Our hero approached the information board to select the quests he liked. Subai chose the most optimal quest. The protagonist believed it was necessary to take on everything that was still available. The guards asked the player where he was headed. Subai replied that he was interested in the Western Mine. He knew where it was, so there was no need to escort him. Subai arrived at the quest location. There was a teleportation point to the Western Mine. The young man thought he shouldn't forget to close his eyes so he wouldn't be blinded by the teleport's glow. The protagonist received a notification that the player Pei Ling Shui had sent him a friend request. The young man was surprised. Could it be her again? Subai rejected the request and headed to the West Mine. Pei Ling Shui, back at her residence, couldn't believe it. Subai had rejected her for the 27th time. No one had ever treated her this way before. Lin Shui received a notification that she had been blacklisted. The girl was furious. She refused to believe she wouldn't be able to catch this guy at least once in the city of Rome. Western Mine. Subai fought the Dark Flame Skeleton Swordsman, a level 38 opponent. The quests Hunt for Dark Swordsman, Hunt for the Leader of the Dark Swordsman, and Revenge of the Dark Flame were completed. Subai said he had dealt with it easily. It was time to summon a few skeletons to farm for him. The undead summoning spell was activated. Next, the protagonist said that the next location would be the snowy plains of Guaratin. Subi noted that this was unsurprising. Everyone was rushing to climb higher levels. The feeling of commanding one's own army was simply too pleasant. The frost was unbearable. The protagonist shivered from the cold. That was a side effect of this location. The young man decided to warm up a little and started a fire. The system reported that the player had been hit by an icy wind. Movement speed was reduced by 10%. Subai decided he needed to get out of there fast. A fluffy level 28 snow monster appeared from behind a hill. Subai thought this snowman was very cute. Our hero sent an undead creature toward the snowman. The guy said that the snowman's cute appearance didn't bother him. Subai noticed that there were more and more snowmen. To assist the undead, the protagonist activated fireballs. The young man thought, even though the spell had been upgraded to C rank and the core had grown larger, the damage was still a bit weak. Ifrit turned out to be much more useful. Subai decided he would have to resort to good old-fashioned quest work. Our hero used the ice arrow skill, and the snowmen were forced to retreat. Subai said that the double chant was finally working consistently. Next time, he should try 3 spells at once. An explosion rang out nearby, accompanied by a bright flash. The young man was surprised. What was that? When the flash faded, it became clear that not only the undead but also the snowmen had been affected. Subai looked up and realized it was the malevolent soul aura. It was an experimental testing ground in the snows of Guaratin. An experimental base in the snows of Guaratin. Subai thought it was the same as in the swamps of Doom. No one had ever started this quest, so too much malice and spirits had accumulated. Subai decided to retreat and told the undead that they wouldn't be able to break through this evil. He was just a newbie and didn't have a single light skill to boot. The players nearby were baffled. What was this black fog? The players were frightened and fled. They feared that this darkness might be pulling out souls. 3 days passed. A closed hall in the Lin trading chamber. Before the protagonist stood a large table with boxes. The young man decided to try his luck. As he opened the boxes, our hero assumed the contents were just junk. There wasn't even any protection for beginners. The door creaked open, and Lin Yu-chan peeked into the room. The girl said that the Lin clan could take all this junk. Subai replied that they could do whatever they wanted with it. Yu-chan stated that she had brought the gold payment and a deposit for the next floors. Subai admitted that the Lin clan had nerves of steel since they had put down a deposit of 50 right off the bat. Judging by the amount, their treasury was probably already empty. Subai said he had received the funds and was ready to meet the clan leader if the opportunity arose. The guy told the girl to get some rest and prepare herself since they would be heading back to the tower soon. Subai was hoping he'd finally get a decent drop. He was particularly interested in more light-based skills. The system congratulated the player on obtaining the skill books. Shield of Holy Light, Icy Spike, and the ready-to-use skill Sacred Anti-Demon Sphere. The guy thought, if he'd had these 3 days ago, he wouldn't have retreated at the Gorton base. Subai thought that even in his past life, he hadn't allowed himself such a build. The door to the room opened. Subai instantly activated his fire fists. The girl noted that this guy had excellent reflexes. Linhwa noticed that in person, the young man was even more handsome than in the photo. Could it be that he didn't recognize her? The young man noticed that this girl was wearing the complete Dragon Wave Sting assassin set. Our hero thought that this girl was a swordsman. Lin Shui assumed that this guy had recognized her after all. Yu Chan returned to the room. Yu Chan told the young man that this was Pei Lin Hui from the country's elite group. Last season, she was ranked among the top 100 players in the world. Lin Jie was surprised. Why was the guy so calm? Had he seen a beauty and lost his tongue? Su Bai asked the guest, why was she looking for him? The girl was surprised because she was beautiful, with a perfect figure, and this guy showed absolutely no reaction. Lin Yu decided to get down to business. The country's 11th elite team welcomes the young man. Yu Chan thought this team was made up of second-tier pros. After all, they're world-class. The 11th squad is an underdog among the elite, but to ordinary people, they're still out of reach. Su Bai noted that it was a great honor for him, but he politely declined. Lin Jie was surprised. Why such a response? A newcomer shouldn't get ahead of himself. After all, only by joining the elite group would he gain access to the best resources and the optimal path for development. Su Bai replied that he could handle the raid tower on his own. Why would he need someone else's guidance? Lin Shuo thought that it was indeed hard to argue with that. He had breezed through the first 15 floors as if he were strolling through a park, alone and without any backing. Su Bai apologized once more and added that he wasn't interested in this squad. Lin Shu stated that the upper levels of the tower were nothing like what the young man had seen before. You couldn't achieve anything there alone. The 11th team was indeed serious about. She hoped Su Bai would change his mind. The protagonist replied that it was a possibility. Our hero thought that in his past life, he had reached the 300th floor without any losses. In this world, so far only the 100th. He hadn't noticed anything difficult. Lin Jie asked, does he mean the status of a guest assistant? Something like a freelance expert? Su Bai replied, they pay, he works, just like with the Lin clan. Lin Shu said she agreed. The guy would be listed as non-staff, but a contract was mandatory. People, equipment, resources, the elite would fully back him up. The girl thought the main thing was that no one took him away. First, she needed to tie him to her, and then she could figure things out. Su Bai was surprised. Could the contract really already be ready? The young man wondered, were they really that afraid he might disappear? Lin Shui handed him the contract and told him to sign it if everything was to his liking. The protagonist stated that he had one condition. He needed a blacksmith to make the set and the squad's help in gathering materials. He would cover the costs himself. Lin Jie replied that Su Bai shouldn't worry. He wouldn't have to pay for the blacksmith. The squad would cover all expenses. The girl was glad that this guy hadn't asked for several million in gold. Usually, such things are indeed covered by the team. Su Bai considered all matters settled and signed the contract. The protagonist said he would email a list of materials and equipment requirements later. Lin Shui thought her quest was finally complete. As Su Bai left the room, he said that he and Yu Chan would continue farming instances. Lin Shui asked, was the guy planning to set a record on the 16th floor? She'd just like to watch. Su Bai replied that he didn't mind. The more she saw now, the easier it would be for her to keep up with him later. Lin Zhuo thought this guy had a pretty high opinion of himself, although it was well-deserved. Tower of the Gods, 16th floor, fiery rocky lands. Su Bai told everyone to stay close together. Lin Hui, watching this player's movements, decided to see what the newly crowned champion of the season was capable of. The monsters, noticing the movement of people in their area, decided to launch an attack. Thanks to the protagonist's decisive actions, the monsters were destroyed. The high-level arthropod monsters possessed unprecedented power. Lin Shu said the damage was simply off the charts. However, this guy was only level 20. What kind of class was he anyway? He activated Chaotic Firestorm. Su Bai looked at the monster's remains and said it smelled like success. Yu Chan agreed that the aroma was indeed pleasant. 2 hours later, the young people were eating the freshly cooked monster meat. Su Bai said that this thing turned out to be really delicious. The local boss was the Lord of the Narug Fire Crabs. The system announced that player Su Bai, leader of the Ling Guild, had set a new record for clearing the 16th floor. Lin Jie contacted the leader and told him to take a look right away. They had truly hit the jackpot. Su Bai was gold, not just a player. While Su Bai and Yu Chan continued to advance through the tower, legends of their exploits were spreading outside. A week later, everyone was once again following Su Bai and his adventures. People said that these two were flooding every chat room with news about themselves every day. They were true monsters. The Lin Guild headquarters was overrun with new recruits. Everyone wanted to join their squads. The elder told the manager to do everything possible to accommodate these requests. They couldn't let such an opportunity slip away. Quest, the Mad Mage's Diary, Lord Rim's residence. Black Rian asked if the hero was sure. The Lord added that since he was the one who brought trouble upon himself, he would have to deal with the consequences. The protagonist replied that once the war began, it would cease to be a personal problem and would affect all the city's residents and players. Subai decided to finish the last quest within the city limits first. The Lord said that if the hero wished to participate in the battle, he would need to defeat Thomas Pete, the vice captain of the guard. He is an 80-level summoner. Subai replied that he agreed and could start at any moment. The protagonist thought that the difficulty was now twice as high as in his previous life, but it was still better than facing the Lord himself. Yuchan thought that Subai had accepted the challenge from the 80-level summoner. The girl decided that such a duel was not to be missed. The training ground of Lord Rome's residence. Subai said he was ready to begin. Thomas Pitt asked, "Does the hero really intend to issue a challenge at his level?" The vice captain said that the young man certainly had no shortage of courage. In that case, he wanted to see what the hero was capable of. Thomas Pete put on his amulet and summoned his pets: Ice Dragon, Undead Chatterbox, and Shadow Bear Spirit. Lin Yuchan thought the summoning speed was lightning fast. Moreover, all the summoned creatures were level 80. Subai decided to test Firestorm first and activated the corresponding skill. The vice captain was surprised. This skill had many drawbacks. The cast time was long and the area of effect was limited. Could it be that the hero had made the wrong choice? Subai noticed that the most interesting part was yet to come. At one point, Thomas Pete found himself bound by thorny vines. The vice captain shouted that this couldn't be happening. Lord Rima thought it was a double elemental reading. The vice captain summoned an ice dragon and activated Frozen Lake. The protagonist dodged his opponent's attack and said it was useless anyway. Thomas Pitt summoned a skeleton to attack his opponent. However, the protagonist jumped high and effectively dodged the attack. Subai used the skill Piercing Strike. The vice captain's skeleton pet was sent flying to the side. The vice captain was unable to free himself from the barbed tentacles. He said he was ready to admit defeat. Subai thanked his opponent for the fight. Thomas Pitt bowed and thanked the hero for sparing him. Subai said it wasn't difficult. Yuchan admitted that the fight had been spectacular. Vlekarian told the vice captain not to be discouraged. Losing to a hero is nothing to be ashamed of. Orlando Mullen noted that the hero had just used a spell without an incantation. The captain of the guards asked if the hero could teach him dual elemental reading. A special quest was activated: Orlando's Request. The reward offered was the title Orlando's Teacher. Subai told the captain of the guards that he agreed. The protagonist asked Yuchan, "Is she coming too?" The girl gave an affirmative answer. The city lord said that since the hero had passed the test, he was ready to assign the final stage of the quest. This quest concerns all the city's residents. It must be taken as seriously as possible. Black Rian noted that the event would begin in 24 hours. The hero could unite all the players and organize a joint defense. Subai said he didn't need that. The Lord was surprised. Was the hero really going to hold the South Gate alone? Subai replied that he had a plan. The Lord said that in that case, he would try to hold off the monsters until the army arrived. But with the beasts invading, it would still become a public event. There was no way to avoid it. Side quest: Rome's Last Revolt. Reward: 100 skill points. Subai thought that the reward this time was twice as good as in his previous life. Rome's main square. The residents said it looked like a large-scale and rather dangerous event. Could the beast invasion really be a story event? One of the players said he was just one level short. Would he have time to level up? Another wondered if they'd accept him at level 40. Subai was a true monster. It seemed like he'd disappear for a while after the 30th floor, but he was eager to jump back into the fray. Yuchen asked Subai why the frontline units don't live here. The young man replied that a high level isn't always an advantage. The level range of the beasts in this wave goes up to 200. He added that with the highest level player around level 100, the world's top players physically can't hold the wave entirely on their own. They'll have to rely on NPCs. Yuchan said that in that case, they should call in the squads. Subai stated that if he were the only one in the south, a level 30 newbie. The monsters at the southern gate would hardly exceed level 100. Yu Chen asked if she could join as well. Subai replied that in that case, he had a condition. Within the next 24 hours, she must master the no-cast and double elemental chant. Otherwise, she wouldn't survive. Yu Chen thought it was impossible to learn all that in such a short time. Lin Jie remarked that this Subai had even stirred up a beast wave, a true storm maker. Palin Shui offered her services. Subai politely declined. The girl thought that this guy really didn't need any help. It was a shame that the whole squad was currently preparing to storm the 100th floor. Otherwise, she would have gladly stopped by to check out the action. Subai told his companion that the essence of castless and double casting lies in reading minds. The player compresses the casting time to an instant through concentration. The guy added that all spells must be transformed into one's own thoughts, rather than formulas spoken aloud. The rest depends on practice. Once the girl masters this, we'll be able to train the captain of the guards. Yu-chan was surprised. Could she really be teaching Captain Orlando? Subai wished the girl luck and added that he needed to get some sleep. The next day arrived. People at the tavern were wondering who this Wu Kai was. Had Subai recruited him? It seemed he was planning to stream Subai's battle against the beast wave. A guard mentioned that Subai regularly posted tutorial videos. Even Lin Shui had liked his posts. The players didn't understand why Subai was trying to hold the South Gate all by himself. Wu Tai went live and greeted everyone. He said he would be hosting the live streams. Wu Kai informed viewers that he was currently on the southern wall of Rome. The streamer announced that today, the south sector would be defended by super rookie Subai. Suddenly, the feed went dark. The viewers panicked. The beast wave was approaching. Had the streamer already been killed? Did that mean they'd be wiped out in a minute too? The southern gates of Rome. Subai said it was time to get to work. Yu-chan announced that everything had already begun. The girl noticed that the nearest monster was just a level 26 skeleton lizard. Subai activated Chaotic Firestorm. The streamer went back on air and apologized. Wu Chai said he'd gone too far and accidentally cut the cable. The viewers said that guy had nearly given them a heart attack. But what was Subai doing over there? Lin Yu-chan tried to pull herself together and stay calm. The girl summoned her fire pets and shouted that she had succeeded. Subai admitted that it really wasn't bad. The protagonist activated Chaotic Firestorm again. Yu-chan praised his multi-elemental chant. The protagonist stated that 9 streams was his limit for now. The level 28 monsters couldn't withstand the intense heat and were losing the battle. Subai activated a summoning of the undead. The stream viewers were baffled. Could this really be resurrection? Could these skills really summon such a large number of units? It's practically an entire army. Wukai also shouted that it was simply impossible. Subai is a true god of war on the battlefield. The protagonist announced a short break. He needed to prepare for the next stage. Yu-chan asked the young man how long the beast wave might last. Subai replied that at best, it would last a day. However, it could go on longer. Subai thought he'd managed to level up his skills just in time. 9 streams of fiery rain wouldn't have been enough anymore. Wasai told the viewers that this entire ocean of fire was holding up an entire front. Subai was simply incredible. Shun thought that she couldn't slack off either. She had to give it her all until the very end. Subai said they needed to keep up the pressure with Chaotic Firestorm and the Ifrit. The monsters ahead would be much tougher. During the break, Wu Tai suggested the players eat, since they'd been on their feet for nearly a day. The Zhou Dynasty's conference hall. An aide reported to Lord Zhou that there weren't enough people in the east. Too many players were heading to the Ling Guild. They couldn't process everyone in time. The leader cursed viciously at the protagonist. After all, it was all his fault. Subai was to blame for everything. Zhou said that if they can't handle it, they need to lighten the load. They need to contact the leaders of Rome's largest guilds. They must prepare to accept new members. Zhou thought, if there are millions of players, then we need to share the pie with the whole world. Rome Square. Residents were discussing the situation. Are they really going to take the brunt of the blow on the front lines? The Zhou dynasty has already made an announcement. A real major guild is ready to take responsibility. A player said he was joining the Zhou dynasty. He didn't want to be in the same boat as someone like Subai. The Zhou dynasty had a responsibility. They were leading players into battle against the beast wave. The other players agreed. They said they had no business dealing with a self-assured psychopath like Subai. Many began leaving the Ling Guild. In the conference room, the assistants asked Mr. Zhou what would happen if the beast wave didn't break through the walls after all. The leader replied that a breakthrough was inevitable. Subai alone would not be able to hold back such a beast wave. After all, he wasn't an SSS rank player. Subai, positioned on the southern section of the fortress wall, closely monitored the unfolding events. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The undead summoning had been activated. Skeletons descended to the foot of the wall. Yuchan asked what stage the beast wave was currently at. Subai replied that it was taking longer than expected. Yuchan thought, could it really be 5 whole days? Wustai cried out in surprise. Could the wave really last another 5 days? Yuchan said that even if the difficulty increased tenfold, she still wasn't afraid. The protagonist suddenly jumped up and told the girl to stay there. He'd be back soon. Yuchan thought that jumping off the wall like that was very dangerous, since the guy was only at level 40. Wu Tai was also surprised. Subai landed at the foot of the wall on the outside. Wu Tai thought this guy had an amazing physique. Yuchan noticed that he hadn't even been hurt when he landed. Subai drew his sword and immediately engaged the monster wolves in battle. Yuchan was surprised. Could Subai really be planning to set up combat circles? The girl didn't even notice how she had clung to the streamer's back to get a better view. The viewers agreed that Subai was unrealistically strong. Could he actually set traps too? It wasn't clear what he was drawing, but it had to be interesting. One of the players was surprised. Wasn't Subai a mage? Why did he have the physical conditioning of a combat cultivator? Even Li Junxie wasn't that strong at this level. After setting the traps and making all the necessary preparations, Subai returned to the fortress wall. Wukai even flinched in fear when he saw him. How could he move back and forth along the wall so calmly? Subai announced that all preparations were complete. From now on, they would need to hold their ground. 3 of them would take turns on watch. Yuchan said the commander could rest. She would be the first to stand guard. Subai agreed, but warned that if any danger arose, she must inform him immediately. Lin Yuchan remarked that the commander's traps were incredibly effective. Wu Chai added that even he was getting scared. The streamer admitted that he was very tired and wanted to sleep. When she got tired, she could wake him up. Yuchan thought the more she got to know Subai, the clearer it became to her that there was no limit to his strength. 3 days had passed. Lin Yuchan said they could barely hold back the wave. The front line had shifted significantly. On top of that, boss-level monsters had appeared. Wu Chai added that with a 5-day forecast at this intensity, they wouldn't make it to the 5th day. Subai was preparing a barbecue at the time. Viewers were amazed that this player could eat so calmly in such a situation. We definitely need to join the Zhou dynasty and defend alongside them. Viewers criticized Subai's behavior. The city is in danger, and he's calmly eating on the front lines. One of the players said that an interesting show was about to begin. Subai finished his meal and said it was quite tasty. The young man said that now Yuchan could rest. He would take care of the rest himself. The girl was surprised, but Subai, armed with swords, went straight down to the monsters. The players and townspeople were stunned. What was Subai planning to do? After all, he was a mage. Could his body really be that powerful? Wukai was surprised. Had the captain really gone alone to face the bosses? Was he ready to fight an entire army of monsters? The protagonist swung his swords and used his unique skills, energetically dispatching all the nearby monsters. The young man realized he needed to move even faster. One of the players declared that everything was clear now. Subai was both a mage and a fighter. He was incredibly strong. The elder, watching the battle in real time, noted that this young man was very efficient and skilled. Li Chensheng, ranked first in the world power rankings, said that this spectacle was far more interesting than the 100th floor. With every spectacular strike by the protagonist, Li Zhenxiang kept repeating that it was simply magnificent. A mage and a warrior in one. The elder asked those present which of them was capable of such a feat. This guy can simultaneously command dozens of pets, control a legion, and constantly replenish it. Li Zhenxiang laughed. Even he wasn't capable of that. The protagonist executed an uppercut, then used the sticky step skill. This was followed by stab series, sword arcs, and rainbow. Another monster was destroyed. The elder noted that this young man executed every skill without a single hitch. A perfect sequence. Every position was precise to the millimeter. His combat technique and skill execution were perfected. Li Gengxiang wondered who this player's mentor was. Pei Lingsue told her grandfather that they had checked everything. He had no teacher. The young people were surprised. How is it possible to master such skills without a teacher? The elder was astonished. Could there really be geniuses in this world born with innate knowledge? He was eager to meet this young man in person. The system reported that the player had defeated the boss. The protagonist declared that all bosses below the 100th floor were mere trash, just bloated in size. He told the undead that from here on out, they could act on their own. They knew the task. Subai thought that his undead were already battle-hardened, and every skeleton operated efficiently. Yu-chan asked the commander how he was feeling. The commander replied that a real shock army of the beast wave awaited them ahead. They needed to prepare themselves mentally. Yu-chan was surprised. Could it be that these elite level 80 bosses weren't even the main force yet? Wukai asked in alarm, what on earth must the main force be like? Elite squad meeting. One of those present asked if Subai could handle this. The elder noted that there were at least level 90 elite bosses here. The assistant reported that evacuation routes for players in the city had already been prepared. Captain Zhou Wan of the 6th Squad said that his son had gathered a large number of players in the inner city in advance. They were ready to repel the wave in an emergency. Su Kang asked if there were any guilds in Rome capable of withstanding a beast wave of this magnitude. Zhou Wang stated that his talented son had already transferred several players from the guild's 2nd Squad there. With their strength, the bosses wouldn't be a problem. Su Kang thought, aside from their elite group, could there really be other professionals like that? Zhou Wang had simply sent his entire 6th Squad there. The elder thought that Zhou Wang was pulling his men out during preparations for the assault on the 100th floor to play along with his son. Lin Shui said they'd gotten completely out of hand. They'd decided to mess with the people from the 11th Squad. As soon as Subai held off the wave, she'd report everything as needed. On the 4th day, Subai and his 10 golden skeletons took to the field and took down 10 elite level 83 bosses. Yu-chan stopped casting spells herself and merely directed the Ifrit's attacks. Even after that, the wave of beasts did not end. By the 5th day, Subai had defeated more than 20 elite bosses. The front lines of the beast wave were gradually creeping toward the walls. The 7th day arrived. Subai had cleared the area around him. The young man returned to the fortress wall. Yu-chan asked, "Is the beast wave over yet?" Wu-chai cheered. Subai managed to hold back the wave. The protagonist looked into the distance and said that the boss was just about to emerge. Yu-chan and Wu-chai saw the elite boss, the Mad Weaver, a level 99 monster. The girl declared that this was the strongest Lord boss in all of Rome's surroundings. Tension filled the elite squad's conference room. Everyone believed that Subai would definitely not be able to hold out now. Zhou thought even if Subai single-handedly held back the entire wave, as soon as the final boss breached the walls, all the glory of victory would go to his son. Wu-chai said that everyone was being persuaded to retreat. They said that the Zhou dynasty had already fielded several second-tier players, and they should be able to handle this boss. Subai admitted that in a direct fight, he was no match for this boss. The young man added that this didn't mean he couldn't defeat the boss. It just meant someone else would fight him. A shout rang out from the tower. They announced that the monster was approaching. A powerful explosion rang out. The shockwave spread in all directions. Subai stated that a single kamikaze silver cannon was capable of destroying an elite boss at the peak of the first profession. If several dozen such cannons were used, even a lord boss wouldn't stand a chance. Spectators said that the beast wave was finally nearing its end. As a result, the NPCs joined in as well. Subai had calculated everything in advance. The leader of the resistance squad watched the process of destroying the monsters closely. Yu-chan couldn't believe her eyes. Was it really over? After all, it had been so dangerous. The protagonist told everyone to get ready because a decisive battle lay ahead. Yu-chan and Wu-chai were surprised. Could there really be a fight with someone stronger than the level 99 boss? Lord Rima and the captain of the guards arrived at the southern side to fight the monsters as well. The streamer captured the arrival of such high-ranking figures. Lin Yu-chan looked into the distance and asked the commander who they were. It was Carmen of the Year, the supreme sorcerer at the peak of the second profession. The protagonist said that this was the puppeteer of the beast wave. Carmen of the Year. Orlando Mullen told the hero to leave immediately. He must not be allowed to come under attack. Our hero declared that the performance had already reached its finale. He had no intention of leaving the theater. Orlando Mullen explained that the Black Mage is Carmen of the Year, a loyal follower of the Legion of Calamity, one of the forces of chaos, already at the peak of his second profession. The captain of the guards added that right now in Rome, Only he and the city lord are capable of fighting this monster. The protagonist asked if these two could really stop the monster. Orlando Mullen said there was no need to hide anything from the hero. The monster declared that Lord Rim simply did not know his limits. The Black Mage added that once he devoured the souls on this battlefield, he would reach the 3rd level. Then the entire city of Rome would fall victim to the Great Lord of Calamity. Blackgreen said he wouldn't let that happen. In Rome Square, the townspeople watching the stream were terrified. Had Subai really destroyed everyone? Why had he created such a situation? They needed to escape immediately. Orlando Mullen reminded everyone that an evacuation had already been organized for the players in the city. All city portals were activated. The hero must evacuate as well. At that moment, Black Ryan engaged the boss in battle. Orlando Mullen said that the Beast Wave wasn't meant to storm the city at all. The boss wants to kill the monsters with his own hands and then use their souls to level up. Wudai asked, "Maybe we should just leave after all. The top players of the Second Awakening are fighting here." Yu-chan added that with the power of the Second Awakening, they really had no business being here. Subai said that anyone who wanted to could leave. No one dared to abandon their commander. The squad remained in formation. Subai told the mage to help the Lord. He was shrouded in a black haze and was already at his limit. Orlando Mullen ordered the heroes to act accordingly. In the elite squad's conference room, they continued to watch the stream with interest. Li Zhenxiang said that Carmen of the Year was certainly strong, but Black and Orlando's techniques were much more classic and refined. Lin Jue said she'd level up another 30 times and wipe all 3 of them out at once. The elder remarked that if she was that good, she could go fight them right now. Carmen of the Year didn't understand why this was happening. Why were there no souls? Where had they gone? Orlando told Black that in that case, they could join forces and take down this boss. Another person stepped onto the battlefield and said he could answer the monster's question. Subai noted that this boss's signature move was the sacrificial circle. Carmen of the Year was surprised. How did this happen? Why hadn't he noticed it before? The monster was surprised. Did they really dare to set a trap for him? After all, it was a multitude of small sacrificial circles gathered together. The monster regretted that his magical power was barely buffed. Subai said that now he would show everyone how this youngster turns into a father. Our hero shouted that it was time to show what Aimshet was truly capable of. Subai ordered the level 10 monster to prepare for battle. Carmen of the Year screamed that this was impossible. He really hadn't expected this. The boss got scared and ran away. As he ran, he shouted that this wasn't right. Carmen of the Year declared that he had been deceived. These people, Orlando and Black, continued to pursue the fugitive. Subai repeated that if he couldn't intervene personally, he had created a monster that could do so. Let it deal with the boss. Aimset had already reached level 130. The protagonist noted that this specimen had reached the 2nd profession. However, the level was a bit low. The protagonist sent the monster into battle and told it not to let him down. Carmen was attacked. He had to face the fist of a huge monster. Orlando and Black were thrilled by the events that unfolded. Carmen of the Year lost a significant portion of his health. The monster prepared for another crushing punch. Carmen of the Year activated a shadow technique to defend himself. The boss didn't understand why he couldn't move. After all, even a Lord boss needs time to adjust after the 2nd phase, yet he was moving as if nothing had happened. The protagonist said he hadn't warmed up his fists in a long time. This opponent was the perfect one to practice on. The fire fists were activated. Subai leaped high into the air and prepared to attack the opponent alongside Aimshet. Our hero activated the step fist skill and struck. The elder said that if this mage had no other tricks up his sleeve, the creatures summoned by this young man would reduce him to dust in half an hour. Lin Shui asked the elder how many of them he could defeat. Li Chensheng replied that 1 against 3 would be tough, but he wasn't afraid in a one-on-one fight. The elder said he wasn't entirely sure about Subai's summoning, pointing to the enormous monster. Lin Zhou asked, "Isn't this boss the weakest in terms of level?" The elder reminded them that he had asked everyone to train their observational skills. Why couldn't they see anything yet? Li Zhengxiang added that if you looked at him alone, he was indeed the weakest of the 4. But under Subai's command, the other 3 combined were no match for him. The old man added that every one of his strikes was covered by a powerful layer of combat ki, and the flow of power never faltered for a moment. This ki engulfed the Black Mage, making it impossible for him to dodge. Lin Ye realized what the secret of Aimshet's power was. The girl told the captain that they had truly stumbled upon a treasure. On the southern outskirts of the city, the battle raged on. Aimset landed blow after blow. Aimset shouted that he was activating the undead explosion. Orlando and Black were terrified upon hearing those words. Carmen said that this monster soul was powerful enough to drag half the city down with it. However, the boss still didn't understand why his plan wasn't working. Yuchan asked Subai what undead explosion meant. The young man replied that to achieve this effect, one must detonate the remains themselves. With so many bodies on the battlefield, if the souls were still present, this single explosion would have wiped out half the city. Subai said that this boss didn't even know that souls also had to be detonated for the explosion. Wu Tai asked if Aimset hadn't absorbed all the souls into himself. Carmen still didn't understand why nothing was working out for him. The boss said he had planned everything perfectly and well. The system reported that the group had successfully completed the defense of Rome. Wu Tai said they had really pulled it off. Subai had endured it all. Yuchan thought that Subai's authority was now simply unshakable. The system reported that all participants in the defense would receive 2 levels and 20 skill points. The streets of Rome were filled with jubilation, for they had survived. Subai had truly protected everyone. The city lord said that the hero was simply incredible. Subai heard that same voice again. It was Gus Gidan, the Lord of Calamities. He said that the great offspring of the Demon King must hear him. The protagonist activated the hidden quest, Child of the Demon King. The Lord asked what had happened to the hero. The young man wondered if they could hear that voice. Could it be because of the Demon King class? It turns out that just like the heroes of the light, the Demon King has his place among the dark forces. During the quest, you must collect 10 million malevolent spirits. Subai thought this was unsurprising. Fanatics like Carmen of the Year appear. The stakes here are simply insane. Our hero thought that such a reward really isn't easy to come by. Linwei got in touch and congratulated the guy, since he'd pulled it off. The girl added that she was heading out to meet him and would be there in half an hour. Lin Jue added that the entire elite squad was coming. The elder joined them. Subai was surprised. Could it be that Li Junsheng wanted to meet him too? Yuchen asked if her clan could also be given such a reception. After a successful meeting, her guild would be willing to pay 20,000 gold. The protagonist thought that luck was falling right into his lap. Rumors began to spread throughout the city that Li Junsheng himself would be coming to the Ling Merchants Guild. After that, the Ling Guild would soar to the very top. Rumors circulated that the heiress of the Ling Guild had already sent out announcements to that effect. Anyone who had previously left the guild could return under the same terms, without having to pay the entrance fee again. Subai thought they were moving rather quickly. Lin Shi spotted him from a distance and said that the hero had already arrived. Su Kang was very pleased to see Subai in his office. The captain shook the hero's hand and said that everyone here knew this guy. He didn't even need to introduce himself. Subai thought that all the influential people from the elite unit had gathered in this place. Su Kang said that this guy was a true young hero with character. Subai said he was pleased to meet them and asked which of them wanted to speak with him.